Alright, you and I are diving into a world where a man gets sucked into a comic book and meets his dream goddess. But knowing the original plot revealed a brutal truth, as he was right now, protecting her was completely impossible. So to guarantee her safety, he made a crazy choice. He would become her personal villain. Your little prank ends now, Egostic. Not bad this time. No wonder I call you my rival. Keep your approval, you worthless piece of trash. So you are the one who kept ruining my plans and blocking my path. Today is our very last game. You have grown too strong, and this is no longer fun for me. So from this moment on, I will never appear before you again. Take care, Stardis. With those final words, he leaped straight off the rooftop. With a conflicted look on her face, she rushed forward, entirely unable to comprehend what had just happened. To make sense of this, we have to travel back several years. His real name was Dayne. On the surface, it looked like any normal modern city, but it was worlds apart from his old home. Here, villains launched brutal terrorist attacks almost daily, while superpowered heroes soared through the skies to stop them. He soon realized he had been dragged straight into the world of his favorite superhero comic, Stardust. So he decided that in this new world, he would become a villain dedicated solely to her. Calling himself Egostic, his immediate was simple was the hunt for other villains. Armed with absolute knowledge of the future, watch what he does next. He would wipe out dangerous threats while they were still weak, long before they could cause mass disasters. He refused to let anyone hurt his favorite hero, Stardis. Plus, his deep knowledge of the plot allowed him to awaken his own special powers. He quickly locked onto his first target. Egostic's primary power was teleportation. The moment he teleported right next to his target, he triggered his second power, raw telekinesis. With zero effort, he completely crushed the villain, who was busy studying blueprints for a crowded department store. Exactly as expected, he was plotting a terrorist bombing. Down the line, this guy would have become a deadly S-rank villain. He was destined to wear a rhino mask and murder hundreds of innocent citizens. Suddenly, an alert blared in Stardis's earpiece, reporting active gunshots and ordering her to reach the scene within 5 minutes. Before vanishing, Egostic left behind his signature calling card. Shortly after, the Hero Association confirmed the victim was a C-rank villain named Rhino. Judging by the clean execution, it had to be the same culprit who previously eliminated the A-rank villain, Enzodia. Stardis swore to bring this vigilante down herself. Meanwhile, the wild news spread across the internet like wildfire. A rogue villain hunting other bad guys? You and I might think he is a hero. And honestly, the public started saying the exact same thing. After all, even when villains got locked up, they always found a way to escape. Ending them was cleaner. He was doing the dirty work heroes feared. But seeing those praise comments made our main character panic. What do I do now? How is this happening? What are you even mumbling about over there? Keep it quiet, warned Hanso, a genius ally. Because Egostic killed a bad guy, the public assumed he was a savior. At this rate, Egostic's reputation would only keep getting better. And if that happened, public opinion of Stardis trying to arrest him would tank completely. He had to act fast to stop this. He needed to prove to the entire world that Egostic was an actual terrifying supervillain. And thus his official debut began. Strap on the explosives, it was time to make a move. His target was a massive 111-story observation tower, famous for its breathtaking, highly anticipated views. Suddenly his voice echoed through the public speakers. Hello everyone, I am Egostic, the one who recently put down Rhino and Enzodia. I will not waste your time with boring speeches. Do you see this? I have rigged explosives all over this tower and started a live broadcast. Now let the game begin. Every great villain needs a hero to challenge him. Stardis, the hero of this sector, you better hurry on over here right now. Straightening his dramatic cape and mask, his heart raced with excitement. He was finally going to meet his goddess face to face. This was no longer just a fictional comic. This was reality, and she was the actual A-rank hero, Stardis. When he first woke up here, he desperately begged to be sent back to his own world. But the second he saw her in person, he knew this was truly the comic world. If he played his cards right, this villain act was the only way he could ever stand by her side. And trust me, we are about to see how his knowledge changes this world forever. Alright, you and I are about to see why becoming a hero wasn't enough to protect her, leaving him only one dark path. He had to play the ultimate villain. Now nobody make a single move. My crew is fully controlling the broadcast, and they hold the remote detonator, so don't even think about using force. How do you like this grand stage I built just for you? Absolutely furious, Stardis cursed him as a total lunatic, demanding he release the hostages right now so she could personally beat him up and throw him behind bars. Well, since that is the demand of Stardis, The ultimate symbol of justice. Of course I will let them go. But simply letting them walk away is far too boring. If anyone presses the down button in the elevator, the bomb on the opposite observation tower will detonate. There are exactly 30 minutes left before everything blows up. So before that timer runs out, you all better hurry up and press that button. After all, you are all total strangers. If they die, it won't hurt your conscience, right? Stardis was absolutely seething, but she was completely powerless to stop it. He wanted to show the world how selfish humans truly are. Pay attention here because this sick game had everyone in that tower thinking the exact same thing. If the crowd in the other tower hit the button first, they would all die. And even if they held back, there was absolutely no guarantee the other side would. Stardis knew that even if she rushed in and smashed Egostic instantly, if other detonators existed, thousands of innocents would die. So she demanded to know if treating people like toys was fun. They are not the fun part. You are Stardis. You are a rare rank hero who actually stands for justice. You would never compromise with true evil, and honestly, I respect that. She had no clue what he meant. In truth, Dayne just wanted to praise her live in front of the entire nation. Since you look so utterly helpless, I will let you join. I will broadcast your voice to all the people desperately waiting for a savior. If you can convince them not to press the button within 30 minutes, the bombs will not detonate. Stardis demanded to know how she could trust him. But Egostic said it was still better than doing nothing. With that, Dayne vanished, and in the next second every camera and drone locked directly onto Stardis. Stardis pleaded with the crowd, stating she was the A-rank hero Stardis, and she believed in their inner goodness. This was exactly what Dayne wanted, making sure everyone remembered that he was the terrifying villain in this chaos. All she had to do was shine bright, because this entire stage was built solely to make her look good. Stardis successfully reached the people, and in the end, no bombs exploded. And now we get to watch Dayne reappear to deliver his classic dramatic villain exit speech. Those selfish crowds did not press the button to save themselves. How is that possible? Someone should have broken under pressure. There had to be at least one selfish monster like me. Humans are never this selfless. But Stardis shut him down, declaring that humanity is not that selfish, and that human nature is fundamentally good. Dayne struck the pose of a defeated villain, pointing dramatically at Stardis. This only happened because of you. You united them. But next time I will win, just as her fist came flying straight at him. Dayne's body slowly faded away, his eyes locked on her burning gaze of pure justice. The crowd began chanting Stardis' name while Dayne instantly teleported far away. The moment he landed, his body collapsed in agony due to a deadly side effect of his power. The physical damage he suffered was directly tied to the distance he traveled. It looks like he will be stuck in bed for at least 2 days. Then a sudden voice nearby asked why he wore that ugly hat. It looks awful, like some third-rate villain gear. He just groans, asking for water because he is dying here. His drinking style was pretty weird, but he got it down. Meanwhile, a major breaking news report was airing. Villain strikes with 0 casualties. That jerk Egostic was actually playing mind games with humanity. Next time she vowed to absolutely catch him. Over at the Korean Hero Association, a high-level meeting was being held because that A-rank villain Egostic had just caused a massive national scene. They quickly analyzed Egostic's profile, a masked male whose disguise seemingly weakens anyone's ability to even perceive his presence. We already know all this basic stuff. Skip directly to yesterday's incident. He used teleportation to plant those bombs. Stick around to see what he does next. Let's kick things off with a shocker. Forensics confirmed that handmade bomb had enough devastating power to completely vaporize the entire observation deck. Did he actually build it himself? And as for that hacking incident, 0 leads. They still have no idea how the enemy bypassed their latest defense system. Looking closely at the live stream, they could not spot a single hacking-type ability user at the crime scene. In other words, Egostic might have a seriously skilled genius technician working behind the scenes as his assistant. That mystery partner probably constructed the explosives. Meanwhile, this villain seems to have a massive, dangerous obsession with our hero, Stardust. That is incredibly obvious from the strange messages he leaves for her at every single crime scene. The Korean Hero Association president, Park Jun-ho, stared at Stardust and asked her what her impression was after meeting him face to face. Stardust believed he was a complete lunatic playing mind games, but worse, he possessed the genius to orchestrate massive high-scale terrorist attacks. Without a doubt, he was a true villain. 2 days later, we cut to Dayne's room. Suffering from the brutal side effects of using his power, he was still lying there half dead, barely crawling out of bed to grab some water. "Hey, did you drink straight from the bottle again?" Dayne immediately denied it. Han Seo-yoon was the cheeky girl who kept calling him bro. Down the line in the original webtoon, this girl actually grows up to become an S-rank villain and a legendary hacker. And watch closely here, because that future S-rank status is exactly why Dayne keeps her close. Still, she complains about him freeloading at her place. Dayne snapped back, pointing out he paid rent, while Seo-yoon lived quietly in her underground home. She strictly warned him again that his mouth must never touch the rim when drinking. He sighed, "Got it." Dayne patted her head, saying he understood, but then his face went serious. Something major had just occurred on the news. "Remember that woman named Lee Soo-bin you mentioned? The active online user who was supposed to be my new assistant? You said she was an Egostic fangirl, right? Well, the television screen is showing her right at the crime scene. His copycat followers are taking hostages and committing crimes over there, even planting dangerous explosives inside the main building." At first, Dayne assumed she was just an innocent hostage, but that masked terrorist on screen is actually Soo-bin herself. These extreme followers refuse to negotiate, claiming they only want pure terror and death. With 3 police officers down and 300 hostages trapped inside, Dayne reminds her of their strict golden rule: never harm innocent civilians. So these fake followers must be stopped. "You will help me, right, Seo?" The girl replies she will judge after seeing his performance. Outside, Stardust desperately requests permission to breach the building, but Command strictly orders her to hold her position. Going in blindly could trigger a hostage massacre. Deep down, Stardust blames this entire nightmare on Egostic's dangerous influence. Let's think about this. Usually, only rogue superpowered villains pulled off crimes like this. But because Egostic pushed the heroes to their limits, he accidentally inspired copycat criminals everywhere. She never expected sick copycats to emerge. But the very next day, Stardust receives an urgent report. Egostic has just arrived at the crime scene, and he is broadcasting live on YouTube. Pulling up her phone, she instantly sees the broadcast. Egostic is casually walking right into the building like he owns it. The masked terrorists cheer wildly, shouting that their glorious hero, Lord Egostic, is here to execute those foolish hostages. Meanwhile, Dayne's entire body is throbbing with pain from long-distance teleportation, and he blames every bit of it on them. At 3 o'clock, the guy by the pillar holds the detonator. Spotting his target, he instantly unleashes his telekinesis to crush him. The fake followers panic, suddenly realizing this guy is definitely not their leader. They shout that he is a hero's dog impersonating Lord Egostic, immediately training all their weapons on him. Coldly declaring he has no use for brainless followers, Dayne uses telekinesis to rip the weapons right out of their hands. He sweeps through them effortlessly. Online viewers are completely baffled. Was Egostic not supposed to be on the villain's side? Why is he wiping out his own fans? Receiving her green light, Stardust immediately breaches the scene. Her mission is to rescue the hostages from both the terrorists and Egostic. Soon, only one criminal is left standing, and Dayne hears a voice. "Bro, do not kill her." Checking her bio, they confirm she was dragged here by force and never wanted to participate. Terrified she is about to be executed, the poor woman breaks down crying. Dayne rips off her mask to reveal none other than Lee Soo-bin, the very target they have been searching for this whole time. Sobbing hysterically, she begs for forgiveness. Dayne stares down at her, calmly asking why she is shedding so many tears. Turning to the trembling hostages, he offers a sincere apology, admitting that while he did not plan this, his actions inspired them. So he takes full responsibility, and trust me, those watching online cannot believe the incredible twist we just witnessed. Alright, you and I are about to look at the weirdest villain ever. He literally promised to send compensation money straight to every single hostage's account. Please make sure to check. I also want to apologize again to the 3 victims who tragically lost their lives. I will send the absolute highest compensation possible to their families. Dayne knew very well that even if he transferred the money through a dummy account, it could still be traced back, but he couldn't worry about that right now. Just then, Siwon's voice crackled in his earpiece. "Hey, bring that woman back with you." Hearing that, Dayne immediately hoisted her onto his shoulder. Completely drained from his long-distance teleport earlier, his body was running entirely on empty. Right then, with a massive crash, Stardust arrived on the scene, absolutely determined to catch Egostic this time. Now here is where it gets crazy. She lunged, but missed because Dayne's legs literally collapsed, letting him slip away with teleportation. Not long after, over at a local university, the news was absolutely buzzing with how this crazy villain actually paid off everyone's damages. Netizens had even given Egostic a brand new nickname, Mango Stick. College student Shin Haru stared at the screen deeply troubled until her senior Chiyun asked if she was struggling with her homework. I'm fine, senior, just spaced out. See, this girl was actually the famous A-rank hero, Stardust. To protect her secret identity, she used a special perception filter when fighting crime, so no one suspected she was just a regular college kid. Of course, Shin Haru was anything but ordinary. And right now she had one massive headache, Egostic. That guy had proudly claimed that every single human was entirely selfish. So why did he risk everything to rescue those hostages? Chiyun pinched her cheeks, teasing her for wearing that gloomy face again. Stop overthinking and let's go get your favorite mango shaved ice. Hearing that, Haru was genuinely deeply tempted to say yes. But a second later that name reminded her of Mango Stick, aka Egostic. And once again her face twisted in utter frustration, leaving Chiyun shocked that even Mango couldn't cheer her up. That damn villain had completely infected her mind. She absolutely had to catch him and expose his real identity. Well, you and I both know she still went for that shaved ice anyway. Meanwhile, across town stood a very ordinary-looking house. Once you stepped past the front door, another entrance stood hidden right beside the main room. Opening that second door revealed an elevator, waiting with its doors already wide open. Stepping inside and punching in the password sent the elevator plunging dozens of floors straight into the underground. This deep underground lair was Egostic's secret base. Well, his base. Why are you randomly naming someone else's house anyway? Sion, why are we drawing lines between us? Your home is my home and my home is your home. But right as he was getting carried away, he moved his leg, and a sudden surge of pain made him scream. It was the toll of his teleportation side effects. Sion yelled, "Why are you acting like you're dying from a double fatigue teleport?" This was Sion, their super intelligent tech genius. And while that wasn't why Dayne recruited her, he had to admit her fatigue recovery capsules were unbelievably useful. Just then, Subin walked in from grocery shopping, casually asking them if they wanted any snacks. Dayne froze instantly. "Aren't you a wanted criminal? How are you even going outside?" She simply replied that she hid her face under her bangs. He deadpanned that doing that only made her look 10 times more suspicious. The second Sion heard about snacks, she rushed over. Dayne couldn't help but wonder if they only brought Subin here to be their errand girl. He asked Siyun why she made him rescue Subin. She replied it was obviously to make her their new assistant. After all, since Subin hadn't committed any real crimes yet, they could easily take her in. Still, Dayne strongly opposed keeping a potential terrorist around. What if she suddenly started shooting inside their house? But in reality, Subin never planned to join any attack, having been dragged there by those fake followers. "Your name is Lee Subin, right? I know everything about you. Your parents were researchers at Hunan Group, right?" Shocked, Subin demanded to know how she knew that. Siwon simply replied that she read her dark web posts. "You want revenge, don't you? You wanted an eye for an eye, to make those monsters suffer exactly what your parents went through. We have been hunting Hunan Group's leaders too, because we are victims of their greed. Only after we track them down and crush them completely can this deep hatred finally be settled. So will you help me?" And as we leave things here, Dayne realized that Subin, just like Siyun, was another tragic victim. Alright, you and I are about to see how he recruited Seo-yun by promising to help her get sweet revenge. And honestly, he really didn't want her turning into the devastating S-rank villain from the original novel. Meanwhile, Lee Subin never even popped up in the original story, making her a total mystery with zero real role. That probably meant she wasn't dangerous at all, though he still couldn't tell if she'd be useful to him. Bonded by shared trauma, the two girls hug and break down crying. Kim Dae-in could barely keep up with how fast they were becoming best friends. From that moment, Seo-yun's disguise as a boy completely shattered. Yeah, you heard that right. She had been cross-dressing as a guy this whole time. Dae-in figured it was best to stay out of it and just sleep. Elsewhere, a creepy guy is forcing a woman to have dinner with him, claiming he simply likes her. When she looks miserable, a cop shows up to report him for domestic abuse, telling the guy he needs to come down to the precinct. The guy tells him to beat it, but the officer coldly stands his ground. That counts as resisting arrest, so I'm bringing you in. The guy sneers, mocking the cop for being so full of himself. With a smirk, he teleports the officer high up onto a rooftop and ruthlessly kicks him right off the edge. Meet the infamous A-rank villain Kim Hak-sheol. Pay attention here, because his bizarre public popularity drove real heroes into deep despair, paving the way for the ultimate supervillain she was destined to become. The terrifying S-rank villain, the White Witch. Her future rival is Stardust, But right now she's far from that level. Today she's just screaming at Dawn because he dared to drink a sip of her orange juice. Subin quickly jumps in to say she actually finished the juice and promises to buy some more later. The second Seo Yoon hears her new bestie finished it, she immediately turns sweet and says it's totally fine. Dawn finally realizes she only has an attitude with him, so he decides to tease her right then and there. Did you finally give up playing boy dress up? That single line turns her face bright red. Even though she is a genius superpower user, she's also the sole survivor of the Hanyun Group's brutal project, where they conducted illegal experiments on hundreds of innocent children. But one day, an unexpected side effect triggered inside one of the children. Everyone in the facility died except for her. She dragged her broken body out and escaped deep underground. Let's pause here. This is where she built the base they use today, living in complete isolation for years until Dayne finally tracked her down. Dawn asked her if she wanted revenge on Hanyun Group, offering to team up because he needed her genius mind. I didn't come here to hurt you, he said. I came here to save you. In the novel, her dark obsession for revenge turned her into an S-rank monster who died a tragic death, so Dawn refused to let that happen. Even though she was technically his accomplice in crime now, making her a bit of a rogue, he still had to steer her down a better path. But man, she had absolutely zero manners, snapping at him, "What are you looking at? You wouldn't even understand it anyway." As for Subin, she lost both of her parents but self-taught her way into an elite university as a computer science major. She would be a massive asset to Seo Yoon later. Still, Dawn didn't recognize her from the original novel, which made him highly suspicious. But best of all, her cooking was absolutely god tier. Just then, Seo Yoon pulls out a high-tech tracker. When Dawn asks what the device is for, she sighs, asking him if he already forgot what their actual job is. This tracker is meant for the next target they need to take down, the elusive B-rank villain Kim Hak-sheol, who commands teleportation. He can only jump short distances, but his spatial teleportation has zero physical side effects, meaning he can spam it endlessly. Worse, you can't even trap him with telekinesis, making him incredibly annoying to fight. The trickier the target, the faster they need to take him out. Dayne groans, complaining about how mentally exhausting dealing with teleporters really is. Seo Yoon completely ignores his whining, telling him to shut up and get to work already. Before long, Dawn sneaks onto the rooftop of the target's building. She urges him to move, but Dawn worries the guy might be chilling in his living room. Impatiently, Sewon snaps that she already explained the plan to him a million times. Even if the villain teleports to dodge incoming bullets, this special tracker will still stick to him because it fires way faster. You're just a liberal arts major, so you wouldn't get it. Stop wasting time and get moving. But Dayne asks if it wouldn't just be easier to assassinate him on the street. She snaps that he always teleports away. Stick around because you and I can't miss what's next. You and I are starting with a plan she made after doing some major prep, while Lee Subin cheers on Egostic from the sidelines. Seeing that Sen awkwardly offered a quick good luck, and Kim Dayne teleported straight into the home of the A-rank villain Kim Hak-sheol. Catching the guy right as he was drying his hair, Kim Dayne immediately fired 2 shots. But Kim Hak-sheol instantly teleported away. Kim Dayne quickly checked if the tracker had attached, and Lu Bin reported his position from the map. He is 500 meters east. Kim Dayne teleported right after him, landing on a busy public street. Crowds instantly started whispering, asking if that was Egostic. Our hero realized he was in deep trouble. This was completely off script, and people were already live-streaming that the infamous Egostic had just appeared downtown. Meanwhile, over at a nearby university, Shinharu immediately got the urgent news that Egostic was spotted downtown. They told Stardust to report to the association and prepare for deployment. She slammed her desk and stood right up. But remembering she was still in class, she quickly muttered an apology before bolting right out the door anyway. Now watch closely because she needed to know his scheme, while Seoin told Kim Dayne to look at the intersection crosswalk. It looked like the target was indeed wounded, so Kim Dayne teleported right over, ready to finish the job. But out of nowhere, a massive truck came crashing toward him. This was Kim Hak-sheol's trap. He wanted to crush his pursuer, but Kim Dayne easily used his own teleportation to dodge the incoming truck. Kim Hak-sheol could not believe his golden opportunity had failed, so he teleported away to escape once again. Landing on a distant rooftop, the truth finally clicked in his mind. His attacker was Egostic. That meant the other villains Egostic eliminated before were not personal targets, but none of those details mattered to him now. Suddenly a voice echoed, "A rank teleport villain, go to hell." The crowd began wondering if Egostic really only targets evil. Kim Hak-sheol teleported to run away again. The The relentless pursuit continued, with both of them warping across the city repeatedly. The desperate villain even grabbed a helpless passerby and hurled him backward. Dayne caught the civilian safely, while the bleeding Kim Hokchul finally collapsed from his gunshot wounds. Let's check out this tense face-off where Dayne asks, "Teleport, villain, you know your sins, right? You stole tens of billions of won and caused the tragic deaths of 4 innocent lives." Dayne then turned to the watching crowd, asking if they wanted him to live. The mob instantly chanted, "Kill him! Kill him!" Kim Hokchul cursed them in pure rage, yelling, "You hypocrites! How are you any different from me?" But Dayne knew this scumbag would eventually become an S-rank threat, responsible for hundreds of future civilian deaths. Worst of all, he had previously hurt Stardust. Without hesitation, Dayne fired the finishing shots, ending Kim Hokchul. But something felt terribly wrong. Instead of fleeing in horror, the crowd began to loudly cheer. It was unsettling. Other than the existence of superhumans, this crazy world was actually quite similar to his old life. Yet moments like this constantly reminded him how fundamentally different this place was. He just could not bring himself to get used to these twisted people. So Dayne raised his gun, aiming it directly at the crowd. "I am a villain, aren't you terrified then?" a familiar voice called out. Egostic. Stardust had finally arrived. Dayne knew that causing more of a scene right here would get way too out of hand. In her everyday life, she was just a slightly quiet, normal college student. But when she transformed, she spoke in a hilarious old-fashioned superhero voice that was honestly just too adorable. "Egostic, what have you done?" Dayne casually smirked, replying, "You want to know what I did? I just put down an A-rank bank-robbing teleporter, doing what you heroes should have done weeks ago." Stardust stood completely speechless. If he was an A-rank threat, heroes had the right to execute him, but Egostic, you are no hero. Dayne knew this was the ultimate chance to boost Stardust's popularity, especially since dozens of bystanders were actively filming. So he declared, as expected of Stardust, "A villain taking the law into his own hands is totally illegal. I truly admire your unwavering justice. Now I shall take my leave." Instantly, the surrounding crowd began whispering, "Should only heroes have the right to catch criminals?" Stardust only showed up when the whole thing was already over. With her power, she could never catch a teleporter. Honestly, did Egostic really do anything wrong here? Dayne felt more and more like the entire narrative was going completely off track. Sewin also urged him through the comms, "Bro, stop rambling and get back here already." With zero time, he told her, "I'm not saying I'm right, but trust me, you and I will see me continue doing evil like a true villain. Stick with me, you and I are diving right into the moment." Egostic tells Stardust to stop him before teleporting away. Only Stardust is left behind, her expression looking incredibly complicated. Meanwhile, Dayne teleports back home, prompting CO1 to scream for Subin's help, blaming it on teleportation side effects. It takes both of them just to drag Dayne inside, while online forums start running a wild poll. Compared to the stiff and old-school Stardust, everyone online prefers the absolute legend, Egostic. The vote count for Egostic completely crushes Stardust. Seeing those harsh comments, Stardust is left completely conflicted, her thoughts a mystery. Flashback to when Shinharu was only 17, and her parents were brutally murdered. Since the killer ran out of time and fled early, she barely managed to survive that horrific night. That very night, her Stardust powers awakened. Back in the present at the base, Dayne finally wakes up. Seo Yoon tells him to eat while turning on the news, which is naturally reporting on the A-rank villain, Egostic. He had already defeated the A-rank villain Rhino and the massive S-rank threat Zodiac. He made life exciting for Korean citizens, especially since the observation tower incident ended with 0 casualties. He even stopped a terrorist attack by his own followers and paid compensation to the hostages. Then he captured the A-rank villain Teleporter, someone the Hero Association officially ranked as one of the hardest to catch. Now watch closely. People say Egostic is no villain, with a post gaining 7,800 upvotes and only 12 downvotes. Many believe Egostic is far stronger than Stardust, claiming she hasn't actually achieved anything at all. While Egostic has already locked up 3 major villains, Stardust, despite being one of the top A-rank heroes, has no real achievements. Other top heroes like Shadow Walker and Frostblade saved dozens, if not hundreds of people. Compared to them, Stardust seems useless, and now Egostic has his own fan club. Dayne cannot understand these crazy citizens. Why on earth would anyone make a fan forum for a villain? He cannot let this slide. He needs to plan his next crime immediately. He must show everyone who the real villain is, and more importantly, boost Stardust's popularity to the absolute sky. Meanwhile, Shinharu is eating mango-shaved ice, but she can't block out the constant harsh criticism from the public. Did Stardust only arrive after everything was finished? With her power, she could never catch a teleporting enemy anyway. Compared to traditional heroes who only deliver basic legal punishments, you and I can understand her frustration. Citizens now prefer a killer like Egostic over a hero working her heart out. Slapping her cheeks to snap out of it, she hears a friendly voice asking what's wrong. It's her senior Chae-hee. She tells Shin-Haru that since the weather is beautiful, she should take a relaxing break for once. She pulls out her phone to show Haru something interesting that has been taking the internet by storm lately. It's Egostic's official fan forum, the Mango Crew. Apparently everyone is obsessed with him these days. Haru never expected her senior to support that guy. But the bigger problem is that Egostic is live streaming right now. Haru immediately gets an urgent message. This time Egostic has specifically called out Stardust by name. The Hero Association orders her to report in and head directly to the scene. Haru quickly says goodbye and leaves. Determined to finally catch him, she heads to a remote railway where Dayne is live streaming. The chat is absolutely going wild, especially since so many people have been sending him supportive fan mail. Some even claim he is a true hero, showing off his massive new fan club, the Mango Crew. But don't get it twisted, everyone. I am a villain, and a speeding train is rapidly approaching. Stardust, are you watching? The chat explodes with confusion before a hilarious comment pops up. Still calling out Stardust at a time like this? That must be true love, guys. The rules of the game are simple. Will she save one person or choose 5 instead? Pull the lever and the other side dies. But try to save everyone and I will instantly detonate the train. Only one choice remains. Stardust finally arrives. Stared down by an impossible choice, she hesitates. Saving everyone at once will put the passengers in grave danger. She needs a miracle to save everyone, but the speeding train is already crashing through. While the crowd votes to sacrifice the one, trust me, you and I know Stardust will never take the easy way out. Alright, you and I are jumping right into the action as she charges the runaway train controlled by Lee Subabin. Dayne puts on a massive act, screaming, "What on earth is Stardust doing? She will get crushed if this continues. Why is she trying to get herself killed?" Honestly, the chat comments are already calling him a total tsundere. Stardust tries to halt the train, but it keeps speeding up because the operator Lee Subabin has completely fainted from sheer terror. Honestly, everything would be going perfect right now if his usual Shadow Walker abilities did not work best in the dark. Dayne could have pulled this off so much easier under the cover of night, but pulling off a secret crime in broad daylight meant dodging way too many eyes. Looking at how it all fell into place, Dayne actually feels proud of himself. Normally, Stardust would get depressed after beating villains, but grow stronger from the fights. Except now, Dayne has already cleared those bad guys out of her path ahead of schedule. But without a major crisis, she would lose her only chance to grow. So this runaway train is actually a high-stakes training ground he set up for her. Of course, he still has to play innocent on camera, so nobody suspects it was all on purpose. But pay attention, because literally every single detail was planned. Stardust has super strength and flight, but both skills are still missing that final 2%. Because of that tiny gap, she is not quite a full-rank hero yet. On paper, she should not even be able to halt this massive train. But what nobody else realizes is that her true power goes way beyond simple strength and flight. Whenever she is backed into a corner, her powers explode with insane intensity. That is why Dayne is sure she can stop the runaway train, but suddenly Lee Subabin passes out cold. No matter how loud Dayne yells, she cannot hear him at all. This is completely outside his plans. If even one hostage on the tracks gets hurt, the entire plan fails and Stardust will spiral straight into deep despair. Just as Dayne starts panicking, Stardust's dormant powers suddenly spark back to life. With the train inches from the hostage, she stops it with brutal force. You saw that too, right? She completely shattered her tragic destiny. Watching her hold the train back, Dayne accidentally blurts out, "Nice job!" But he immediately catches himself, correcting his tone to "She actually managed to stop it." The outcome was slightly off his script, but she still beat the impossible trap in her own way. Some viewers in the chat question why Egostic just cheered her on, but the public support swings heavily towards Stardust. This stunt completely saves her reputation, which is exactly the outcome Dayne was looking for. Staring into the stream camera, he declares, "Did you see that? That is the hero Stardust. As long as she fights to save others, she will only get stronger." But after burning through all her energy, Stardust finally collapses. Seeing this, Dayne instantly teleports over to check on her. She barely opens an eye to see Egostic standing right above her. Well done, you win this round. I am heading out now, so get some rest. Saying that, Dayne gently covers her eyes with his hand before telling the stream, my criminal act ends here, thanks for watching. The stream cuts black, but the chat is absolutely losing it over the weird tense chemistry between the two of them. The next morning, Soin screams at him to wake up, complaining he only pulled off one crime, so why is he so exhausted? Even while nagging, she still cooks 3 bowls of instant noodles and brings them over. Lee Sububin can barely believe Soin actually cooked. Dayne just pats Soin on the head and thanks her with a warm smile. Once the 3 finish eating, they turn on the news to see how the media is spinning yesterday's absolute chaos. Dayne is sure his terrifying villain status is totally set in stone, and Stardis's popularity should be through the roof. It is the perfect win-win situation. But the second Soin spots the headline, she bursts out laughing. The news anchors are reporting that Stardis and Egostic are actually rumored to be dating. The broadcast tells everyone to look closely at this photo from yesterday morning after she stopped the train. Just looking at this picture, the dangerous villain and the rising hero look exactly like a romantic couple. Shinharu happens to see this broadcast too. She gets so furious she literally crushes the cup in her hand, utterly baffled by what these reporters are talking about. The news continues. Korea's most wanted villain, Egostic, and the beautiful rising star hero, Stardis, are rumored to be passionately dating. Trust me, you and I are definitely going to want to see this evidence photo. Alright, you and I are diving into a story where Stardis's name was written on a bomb, and that wasn't even the craziest part. It called the bomb a gift for Stardis. Now look closely at this scene. Look at Mangostick's surprisingly gentle eyes. See that? If that isn't true love, what is? After Mangostick gently touches her, Stardis closes her eyes and finally falls asleep in peace. If that doesn't count as dating, then what on earth does? Back at school, Shinharu is watching the video completely stunned. She's seriously wondering if the entire world has lost its mind. How could anyone claim she's in love with a crazy villain like him? That would never happen. Seriously, absolutely never. And yet for some reason, pure hatred and disgust keep boiling up inside her. But mixed into those raw feelings is something else. Something strange she can't even explain. Right then, her friend Kim Shi-hin walks right up to her. Haru, today we are healing that exhausted soul of yours after all those brutal school assignments. Come on, let's go have some fun. Meanwhile, inside the secret base, Han Soon is rolling around on the floor like a kid, screaming that she wants to go out and play. Since they had successfully pulled off 2 major criminal operations, Dayne actually agrees to let her go out. Hearing that, she instantly springs off the floor and starts cheering. After all, in the original story, that guy was a notorious supervillain, yet he still made the female hero show an expression like that. Cut to 3 years ago at the Hero Association. Back then, the association was revealing a piece of high-tech gear that was absolutely essential for every active hero. It was called the Perception Filtering Device, but everyone simply referred to it as the filter. Now watch closely because this device is incredibly important. Once inside, a filtering layer forms over the hero's face, making them completely unrecognizable to ordinary people. But if a hero ever shows their real face directly to someone who already knows them, the filter instantly stops working. And everyone in the room knew exactly how dangerous a hero's identity exposure could truly be. It wouldn't just destroy their hero career, their entire normal life would be ruined. This was a rule they had to memorize. Fast forward to today, and a monster named Crocodile Man is out causing massive destruction. Shinharu has absolutely no time to run back to headquarters for her filter, but she firmly believes a real hero never runs from danger. Ready to risk her identity, she prepares to fight Crocodile Man directly. But suddenly, someone in the crowd screams, "It's Egostic!" Egostic is actually here. Shinharu hears the voice, immediately recognizing the era's ultimate villain. Korea's #1 public enemy is none other than our main character, Egostic. Dayne knew that in the original story, Stardis suffered terribly after her identity got exposed. Knowing how crucial a normal life is for a hero, he immediately steps in to provoke Crocodile Man. Calling him absolute trash, Dayne gets his attention. Crocodile Man recognizes him instantly. The legendary Egostic is standing right there. Yeah, the notorious villain who's been acting all lovey-dovey with Stardis. The live stream chat goes wild, calling Crocodile Man a jealous Stardis fanboy. Annoyed, the beast scales the wall at terrifying speed. He leaps onto the rooftop, charging straight at Dayne. But with a quick flash, Dayne teleports right above the beast's head. Tapping him on the head, our main character mocks him, saying he knows his name but clearly didn't know he could teleport. Crocodile Man swings wildly but can't land a single blow, furiously roaring at Egostic to stand still and fight fair. Dayne laughs, asking why on earth a villain like Egostic would ever fight fair and square. Even so, he realizes he needs to quickly explain why Egostic is showing up here today. I know what you're thinking, is he here for romance? Well, to prevent everyone from making that exact misunderstanding, he looks at Crocodile Man and asks a sudden question. Why are you launching this sudden attack? Crocodile Man snaps back that Stardis is his target, making Egostic his natural enemy. Since you're clearly obsessed with Stardust too, you're officially my rival. Dayne is absolutely baffled by this brainless villain logic, but the live chat is already erupting. Even this dumb beast knows Mangostick loves Stardis. He has no clue Egostic can teleport, but knows he's a simp. They're literally fighting over her. Crocodile Man points a claw at Egostic, roaring that he was the one who threatened to kill him first. Dayne immediately denies it, asking when he ever said that. But even his own viewers are reminding him of his words. You said a crocodile causing trouble on my turf is dead meat. Wasn't that your exact quote? Dayne completely panics on the spot. That wasn't even the point of his question. Since when did this stupid reptile get so good at debating? Worse, the entire livestream chat is agreeing with him. Furious that Egostic is playing dumb, Crocodile Man lets out an angry roar as a massive fireball forms in his jaws. But trust me, you and I both know this beast's special attack won't even be able to touch our teleporting main character. Alright, you and I are jumping right into a fight where a single scratch means instant death. So Dayne unleashes his secret weapons. Dozens of guns. He uses telekinesis to fire every single one of them at once. But as the smoke clears, the Crocodile Man stands completely unharmed, laughing off the useless bullets. But Dayne just smirks. Get the beast to drop his guard. The very next second, he rips off his own mask. Instantly, he slips on a prepared gas mask and hurls a spherical bomb straight at the Crocodile Man. The explosive lands directly inside the monster's open jaws, then boom, a devastating explosion erupts from within. In the novel, that armored hide gave Stardust endless trouble. Obviously, Dayne was totally prepared to counter it. The livestream chat goes absolutely wild, demanding the association officially recruit Mangostick as a hero. Despite saving the day, he still claims to be a villain, but pushing his powers this far comes at a cost. Dayne is pushed right to his physical limit. He tries using telekinesis to clean up, but his energy is entirely gone. Even holding up his phone feels nearly impossible. So he quickly tells the stream he only fought because he hated that ugly crocodile. There was no way he did this for Stardust, and absolutely not for the sake of justice. Let's be honest, the chat was instantly teasing his obvious excuse. Right then, Stardust finally arrives in full hero gear. Looking down at the beaten crocodile, she asks, "Did you defeat him?" Dayne replies, "He got in my way, so I removed him." But Stardust immediately presses him further. "Why?" Dayne answers coldly. "Because he was shouting that you and I were acting all lovey-dovey. And that annoyed me." Right after saying that, Dayne mutes his live stream audio completely. Then he whispers to her, "Stardust, never expose your face in public like you did today. Once your real identity gets out, your life becomes a total nightmare." Before she can even process his warning, he turns back to the stream and announces that is all for today. A major event is coming next month, so stay tuned for more. His chat instantly blows up, demanding to know what they whispered about while muted. But before Stardust can even speak, he teleports away. Reaching Siwoo's base, Dayne coughs up mouthfuls of dark blood, looking completely exhausted and deeply haggard. The very next second, he collapses unconscious inside the base. Now pay attention to this. Stardust picks up his dropped mask, whispering, "How does he know exactly what I am thinking?" After heading back home, Shinharu checks the online news. The headline reads, "The A-rank villain who wrecked the ice cream festival is finally detained." Subdued by Mangostick, he's sent to the Eastern Superhuman Detention Center. Mangostick, an A-rank villain himself, had arrived faster than any hero. Is he seriously still a villain? Because now he actually has dedicated fans. Shinharu gets a massive headache just reading this. She realizes that literally everyone, even the ice cream vendor, actually likes Mangostick now. But she remembers his warning. Don't ever show your real face to the public like you did today. She can't help but wonder, was everyone else right? And is she the only one who is wrong? Meanwhile, Dayne is still completely knocked out. Siwoo angrily blames this entire disaster on Stardust. And right as she is complaining, Dayne finally wakes up, asking why they look so miserable. Siwoo immediately hugs him, bursting into tears. Only then does he realize he has been out for 3 whole days. The reason is simple. Spamming both teleportation and telekinesis back-to-back completely destroyed his stamina. With teary eyes, Siwoo tells him he has to take better care of himself. He never expected this girl to actually cry for him. Looks like all those video games we played together actually paid off. Lee Subin also questions why he rushed so fast to handle the crocodile. To anyone watching, they'd think he was a real hero. Siwoo agrees. He keeps calling himself a villain, so why does he keep saving people like this? Kim Dayne explains that if he hadn't stepped in, Stardust would have fought her own battle, and that would have been incredibly dangerous. Once a hero's real face is exposed, their private information gets leaked instantly. Then every vengeful villain and criminal who wants heroes dead would target her entire life. Siwoo asks, "But what does that have to do with us?" Kim Dayne explains that their world was fundamentally broken and asymmetrical right from the very beginning. Good and evil are never truly balanced. Most superhumans choose to become villains rather than heroes. So what do you and I take from this? Being a hero is just a thankless, deadly job. You and I both know most people would choose the easy villain life. Just look at Korea's A-rank heroes. There are only Stardis, Shadow Walker, and Frostblade. But A-rank villains? They are absolutely everywhere. Hearing that, Soon couldn't help teasing him. "So bro, are you gonna wipe out villains instead of the heroes? Isn't that just being a dark hero?" she then asked. "But what does that have to do with us?" Kim Dayne quickly explained it wasn't that serious. He just worried about Korea's future. Soon narrowed her eyes and asked, "Bro, do you actually have feelings for Stardust? Don't tell me you actually like that woman." Kim Dayne immediately cut her off to correct her. "Don't call her that woman. Be civilized." The atmosphere in the room instantly turned icy. Lee Subin quickly stepped in to diffuse the tension. "Soon, didn't you have something you wanted to discuss with everyone?" Soon finally remembered. "Right, summer is almost here, so let's go on a trip." Kim Dayne agreed a vacation was fine. But first, they needed another villain gig to lower his own reputation while forcing Stardust to grow even stronger. After all, there was no guarantee that another beast like Crocodile Man wouldn't show up again. If Stardust had fought Crocodile Man head-on back then, she'd have faced a brutal beatdown, Son grumbled. "So are we going on this trip or what?" After some back and forth, they made a pinky promise. Only then did Sun run off to pack her bags. Meanwhile, Kim Dayne already had dozens of criminal operations mapped out. The tower incident and the train disaster both happened on land. This time they had to choose either water or the sky. Kim Dayne racked his brain until he finally got the perfect idea. He'd just spotted news about a plane falling from the sky. Soon and Kim Dayne both let out a cold, sinister laugh at the exact same time. Cut to a passenger plane cruising through the clouds, where people are laughing and chatting inside the cabin, completely clueless. But a second later, the cabin lights plunge into total darkness. At first, nobody thinks anything of it. Some even thought the dark cabin made the night sky look beautiful and atmospheric. But then a voice suddenly crackles over the intercom. "Hello, everyone. Welcome to the ultimate quiz show, 25,000 feet in the air. Welcome to the self-show live stream." A panicked passenger grabs a flight attendant, demanding to know what's happening. But the eerie voice over the speaker continues. "There is a live bomb ticking on this very plane." Hearing those words, absolute pure chaos erupts throughout the cabin. Now let's see how Stardust handles this. Back on the ground, the Hero Association just got word of the hijacking. The president coldly warns her that even if she flies out now, there's no guarantee she can stop the disaster. Stardust slams her hands on the table in pure rage. Is that seriously something the president should be saying? "I am heading there right now." The president calmly replies that he never forbade her. Then a lazy voice speaks up nearby. "Daytime is honestly exhausting." The sleepy newcomer is none other than the A-rank hero Kim Jong, aka Shadow Walker. He tells the president that he needs a nap the second they hit the airport, since he can't fight in his current state anyway. The president warns them not to push too hard, gently reminding them that they simply cannot save everyone. With a blinding flash of light, they instantly teleport to the airport. But what they see waiting for them is absolutely horrifying. How the hell do we stop that? Right above them, a plane engulfed in roaring flames is plunging straight toward the earth. For Kim Dayne, acting as a superhero's personal nemesis, helping her grow is his ultimate goal. Let's pause here. Years ago, during a certain hero's debut, a dangerous gang of villains gathered. Among them was the terrifying rank villain, Thousand Melas. But standing alone against them was the A-rank hero, Shadow Walker. His power lets him liquefy into a shadow-like substance at night. This form makes him blindingly fast, and his strikes are absolutely devastating. At night, he's basically a god, but during the day, he's practically useless. Meanwhile, Egostic already knows Stardust has arrived on scene, so he announces over the broadcast, "Next up is the highly anticipated final round of questions. 30 minutes earlier, the deadly game had officially kicked off, and he laid out the rules. Everyone turn on your phones and disable airplane mode. You should have all received a text. There are 10 questions in total. Answer them all correctly and the bomb is immediately disarmed. But if even one passenger fails, everyone loses. Send your answers to this number. And from this moment on, absolutely no looking at your neighbor's screen. Make a single sound and you're immediately eliminated. The very first question? How many people could fit on a Titanic lifeboat? That woman who peeked, she gasped, and trust me, you and I know she's done for. Alright, let's jump straight into a twisted game where another contestant is ruthlessly eliminated, leaving the chat absolutely terrified. Who actually called Egostic a hero? Finally, the answer to the first question is officially revealed. Only 9 people survived. Because in Korean, the word 9 sounds exactly like save, like a lifeboat. So Yoon can clearly tell that Egostic is thoroughly enjoying this sick game. As the clock ticks, more contestants fail. The show finally reaches the final round with just one survivor left, while Stardust frantically races to the scene. Egostic proudly announces, before this highly anticipated final round begins, let's have a quick interview. A single sentence from you can decide everyone's fate. Mr. Kim Dukbae from Bombay Dong, you are our last survivor. How do you feel? With a dead serious face, Kim Dukbae replies that he feels an overwhelming weight of responsibility. Now pay close attention to this sixth, because they made a sound, everyone fails. The entire plane is going down. The stage is set, and it is finally time for our hero's grand entrance. But Stardust is completely frozen at the sight. She immediately contacts the association president for orders. But he just retorts, what else can you even do? Give up? I am currently busy drafting a strong condemnation letter. The president is calling, so I am hanging up. Stopping a runaway train last time nearly killed her. In a crisis like this, what can she possibly do? Her mind flashes back to the night her parents died, the exact night she chose the path of revenge. Right now, just like in the past, it feels utterly hopeless. But suddenly, a voice crackles through her earpiece. Meanwhile, on the other side, Egostic is casually sitting back, thinking that orchestrating this massive terror attack remotely is almost way too easy. But Seo Yoon suddenly notices something highly unusual. Why is Stardust just standing there, completely motionless? Seeing this, Egostic's expression immediately darkens. What on earth is Stardust doing? Seo Yoon, patch me into her earpiece now. Hurry up, we are running out of time. And just like that, a familiar voice rings in Stardust's ear. Hello, this is Egostic. Stardust immediately fires back, calling him a piece of trash, but he stays completely calm. I'm just curious. Why aren't you saving them? The plane is crashing, so why are you just sitting there? Stardust snaps back, you are the one crashing the plane. Why are you telling me to go stop it? Egostic replies, who else is going to do it? If that metal beast hits the ground, everyone inside gets vaporized. Stardust grits her teeth in anger. Is this your grand plan? Are you trying to force me to die? And honestly, this moment hits differently as he firmly tells her to stand up, fly into the sky, and save everyone because she can. If anyone can do this, it is you, Stardust. The hero has absolutely no idea what this lunatic is talking about. Egostic continues, why would I ever want you dead? Without you, I'd just be a generic villain in some back alley. You are the one who truly defines me. Hearing those heavy words, Stardust freezes in shock. She still deeply suspects that Egostic has some sort of hidden agenda playing out here. But for now, she decides to play along. With a massive burst of energy, she launches toward the falling plane. Watching them die would leave her with unbearable guilt forever. And Egostic knows she can pull this off, because that is exactly who Stardust is to him. The final contestant, Kim Dob, is breaking down in tears, thinking he just murdered everyone, because he couldn't focus at the very end. But suddenly, passengers realize the falling aircraft is slowing down. Stardust is literally holding the entire plane up with raw physical force. Guided by the crew, every passenger evacuates safely. Only then does the crowd realize that their savior is none other than Stardust. Their hero protected them all. Standing amidst the chaos, Stardust quietly whispers his name, Egostic. This shocking event sends ripples worldwide. What kind of godlike force is this hero, Stardust? Other nations are forced to admit that when it comes to supreme heroes, Korea is on a whole different level. In fact, even the combined strength of foreign hero associations couldn't possibly match Korea. The morning news broadcast that yesterday the infamous rank villain Egostic remotely hijacked a commercial flight, forcing it to crash. But by an absolute miracle, every single passenger survived. The one who stopped that falling giant is Korea's ultimate pride, the legendary hero Stardust. Initially, many top experts predicted that with her level of power, there was absolutely no way she could stop the disaster. given how fast the plane was plummeting. Naturally, Shinharu watches this broadcast too. Suddenly her phone rings. The voice on the other end says, "Come on, even the association president gave you a day off. So let's leave them relaxing by the beautiful ocean." Alright, you and I are diving into a wild story. Since Shinharu hadn't gone out in forever, she happily agreed to a trip tomorrow and even invited Kim Jason along. But then she remembered Egostic's words. He told her she could do it because of who she was. Nobody had ever believed in her like that before. And yet he was supposed to be a villain. So why did he push her to save that falling plane? If he already knew she had the strength to save everyone, why even crash the flight in the first place? He told her that without her, he'd be nothing but an ordinary bad guy. She was the one who defined him. There were still so many mysteries surrounding Egostic, but deep down Shinru felt there had to be a real hidden purpose behind his chaotic actions. So she decided to start tracking his recent movements. Right then the Hero Association called her. The staff member on the phone delivered some sudden news. They needed to reevaluate her power level. Meanwhile, CO1 was so incredibly hyped up she could barely even sit still. The long-awaited vacation day had finally arrived. For Dayne, this was his very first break since being transmigrated into this world. And pay attention here, because this is where the fun ends. Just after setting off, their dream vacation gets hit with a massive traffic jam. To make matters worse, the car's air conditioner died on impact, leaving them to completely roast in the sweltering heat. Seo-yoon couldn't stop complaining, asking why he didn't just teleport the entire car. Dayne immediately snapped back, warning her that the side effects would literally kill him. He suggested hitting a rest stop first. Seo-yoon grumbled that taking the train would have been smarter, but Dayne shut her down. They simply had way too much luggage. Right then, Seo-yoon spotted something highly suspicious next to her. Those definitely weren't typical beach toys. Packed away were heavy firearms Dayne had prepared beforehand. He casually explained that you never know what could go wrong. Seo-yoon lost it, screaming about what kind of crazy vacation this was supposed to be before throwing a massive fit right inside the car. Before long, they finally reached the beach, and Lee Subin thoughtfully went to grab refreshing drinks for everyone. Blushing slightly, she confessed how deeply grateful she was to him. Dayne, of course, was completely clueless. Grateful for what? Lee Subin smiled and thanked him for literally everything, starting with saving her life. She thanked him for always being so kind, but Dayne quickly countered, saying he was actually the one who owed her thanks. After all, she managed the household chores, and her cooking was top tier. Hearing that, Lee Subin whispered softly. Hearing that made her incredibly happy. But honestly, I think we'd all feel the same bad vibe Dayne got. Like a massive death flag was about to drop. Was she planning to betray him? He actually started worrying she had slipped some kind of poison into his cup. Meanwhile, back at the Hero Association, two analysts were closely debating the latest data. They insisted the measurements weren't wrong. Statistically, there was absolutely no way she should have been able to stop that plummeting plane. The other analyst argued the system had to be broken. Had they completely failed to calculate her real potential from day one? But Stardust herself knew those test results weren't mistaken. Preventing that impossible tragedy had unlocked a massive power surge. The scanning staff stared at the monitors in absolute shock. Back on the sunny beach, Lee Subin handed Dayne another cold drink, blushing deeply as she expressed her heartfelt gratitude. Still terrified of an impending betrayal, Dayne forced a calm smile and replied that he'd be relying on her from now on too. Seo-yoon immediately started whining from the sidelines, asking if they were seriously going to ignore her just to flirt. What a cute couple. Lee Subin instantly turned bright red, frantically denying they were flirting at all. Since it was a group trip, she insisted everyone join in on the fun. Hearing that, Dayne suddenly scooped Seo-yoon right up and tossed her straight into the ocean waves. She sputtered loudly about getting water up her nose, but it was pure peaceful fun. And just like that, the trio enjoyed their precious beach day. Meanwhile, in a dark room, a voice asked where they were striking tonight. The chilling response came back. The Marriott Royal Hotel. Tonight they were going all out. And wouldn't you know it, that exact hotel happened to be where Dayne and his crew had booked their stay. To make things crazier, the entire reservation was under Seo-yoon's name, and she had only booked a single room to save some money. She cheerfully argued that with a bed that massive, sleeping together would actually be super cozy. Lee Subin agreed, saying it had been forever since they last shared a bed, which sounded nice. Dayne panically told her to never phrase it like that. Seriously, we have never shared a room before. Later that night, Dayne tried to reassure himself that nothing could go wrong. If only things could actually stay peaceful. But boom, the hotel door was violently blown wide open. Using telekinesis, Dawn knocked both intruders out. But trust me, this is just the start. Alright, you and I are jumping right into a mess. He opens his door to find masked thugs brutalizing helpless hotel guests. Dayne is utterly speechless. Did they seriously just stumble into a terrorist attack? How is their luck this garbage? Every single vacation gets ruined. Worse yet, how do these criminals dare pull this stunt right under Shadow Walker's nose? He checks his phone and realizes the A-rank hero, Shadow Walker, was apparently found knocked out in Incheon. Suddenly, Sound wakes up from the noise and asks what is happening. Dayne explains there is an ongoing attack in the hotel. Honestly, Sound is already way too used to this kind of madness. He tells Sound to wake Subin up and stay put while he heads down to the parking lot. He really did not expect his peaceful vacation to get hijacked like this. Teleporting outside, he realizes they can never leave unless he handles this mess. He never imagined he would actually need to use his emergency backup mask. He lets out a cold, sharp laugh. He wants to see which bastard dared to ruin his trip. Teleporting again, he drops off earpieces for Sound and Subin. And watch closely here. Sound is completely baffled by why her brother looks so incredibly happy. The terrorists have already rounded up the terrified guests, led by an infamous A-rank villain named Monkey Wrench. He orders his goons to contact the Hero Association immediately, boasting about having hundreds of hostages. If the cash is not transferred instantly, he threatens to slaughter every single one of them. Suddenly, a cold voice rings out, calling their little stunt boring. Dayne activates his telekinesis. In a flash, he rips the weapons from their hands and instantly knocks the thugs unconscious. The hostages panic at the sight, but that single flashy move completely drained months of stored telekinetic power. He immediately launches a follow-up attack, but Monkey Wrench dodges. Dayne just mocks him with a cold smirk. Calling his goons a bunch of useless trash, Dayne pushes the villain over the edge. Furious, Monkey Wrench fires his gun with a loud bang. The bullet tears straight into Dayne's abdomen. Gritting his teeth, he forces a smug reply. You only had one shot. Is that it? Behind the tough act, things are extremely critical. One wrong move and he will easily bleed out and die right there. His survival instincts are screaming at him to run. Monkey Wrench originally planned to exploit Shadow Walker's absence, secure a fast fortune, and escape, but now he suspects this masked man is Egostic. Is he on Egostic's hit list? Is that why he was hiding in this hotel? Sensing his hesitation, Dayne smirks. Monkey Wrench, you look nervous. I'll give you one chance to run. The villain angrily demands to know what kind of scheme he is plotting. Dayne just scoffs back. Scheme? Is that the only thing your tiny brain can come up with? You completely ruined my vacation. So back off before I lose my patience. But let me tell you, inside he was desperately begging the guy to just buy the bluff and run. He is so dizzy he can barely keep his eyes open. Thankfully, Monkey Wrench finally takes the bait. As long as he survives today, he can make a comeback. One day he will rule Korea as its king. He cannot afford to die here. In the next second, he turns into a streak of light and bolts out of the hotel. But out of nowhere, a massive fist swings at Monkey Wrench. With a single punch, he gets blasted right back inside. The hero who arrived is, of course, Stardust. She demands they surrender and drop their weapons immediately. But as she looks around, she realizes the entire gang is already knocked out cold on the floor. Right on her heels, the A-rank hero Frostblade arrives. Looking at the wreckage, he cannot help but comment. Incredible. You fake a report about Shadow Walker passing out, and then you actually have the guts to pull a heist. Then the real Shadow Walker arrives too. But a second later, all their eyes lock onto Dayne, who is barely standing. Dayne is totally confused. Why on earth did these heroes all show up from this direction? Stardust asks cautiously, Who are you? Are you the one who stopped this attack? He knows if he slips up for even a second, he might die on the spot. Luckily, they still do not suspect he is Egostic. He just needs to stall for time until he recovers enough energy to teleport away. Forcing a calm expression, he asks, Who am I? I am an S-rank hero who secretly protects Korea under a hidden identity. Hearing this, the three A-rank heroes clearly do not buy a single word. Frostblade narrows his eyes in suspicion. The association has absolutely no record of any S-rank hero. What kind of nonsense is this? Who are you really? He instantly shoots back, and honestly, you have to love him asking Stardust if she even understands secret operations. Let's dive in. Staring down Frostblade and Shadow Walker, Dayne claims he's a veteran hero from the previous generation. Over the comms, Lee Sobin and Soon are completely clueless about his plan, but Dayne just keeps putting on an act. He acts offended that they didn't bow to their senior, but a suspicious Stardust isn't buying his act at all. Reading her face, Dayne quickly doubles down, telling her she obviously doesn't get the gravity of his words. He starts making up a name on the spot, spotting a nearby kid wearing a pineapple and mango-patterned shirt. So Dayne blurts out the most ridiculous alias ever, Apple Mango. Naturally, the crowd immediately starts whispering about how incredibly lame that name sounds. Meanwhile, Frostblade checks with the association president, who has zero record of any veteran named Apple Mango, so he presses Dayne further. Demanding to know his real identity, Frostblade gets called a rude brat by a desperately acting Dayne. Dayne claims he even knows that their president's highly embarrassing real birth name was Park Mansion, which he changed because it sounded too tacky. He challenges them to check for themselves, leaving everyone completely dumbfounded by this classified intel. Now here's the crazy part. Even Dayne never expected his gaming knowledge to save his skin like this. But Frostblade quickly shuts him down, saying the president denies knowing him, till an onlooker speaks up in his defense. The citizen points out that this masked guy just saved everyone, so his real identity shouldn't even matter right now. Dayne is so touched he wants to weep. Just a few more seconds to recover his stamina and he can teleport out. But then the man ruins it, adding that the hero controlled flying weapons in the air to beat the thugs. He mentions the villain on television, Egostic. Hearing that name, Stardust immediately locks her sharp gaze onto Dayne. Dayne silently begs the man to shut up, but the damage is done as Stardust narrows her eyes. She declares him suspicious from the get-go, deciding to lock him down first and ask questions later. Dayne desperately prays for just a few more seconds of recharge time to make his escape. Suddenly, Frostblade is the first to unleash his ice powers to attack, while Shadow Walker instantly slips right behind him. With Stardust charging him head-on, Dayne's body is still completely paralyzed and unable to dodge. Trapped and battered, our hero is cornered by 3 top-tier supers at once. But in the nick of time, a spark of energy returns, allowing him to teleport away. A split second later, he reappears right inside the getaway car with Sun and Lee Seobin. Wait, don't relax yet. Dayne immediately orders Sun to wipe every single trace of their presence. This includes the hotel logs and security footage because getting exposed means absolute doom. By now, Dayne has pushed past his absolute limit. Going to a normal hospital is suicide since they would easily be tracked, so they must head straight to base. Lee Seobin floors the gas, while telling Sun to grab the medical kit and patch Dayne up immediately. Poor Sun is totally panicking because she has never had to treat someone this badly hurt before. Lee Seobin just keeps telling her to hurry, knowing they need to vanish from this area instantly. Meanwhile, back at the hotel, Frostblade complains about his ruined day off, wondering why these annoying villains never take a single day off. Shadow Walker leaves to go back to sleep, while Kim Chae-yoon continues to blame herself. But Shadow Walker shrugs it off, saying she would have shown up anyway, right, Stardust? Meanwhile, Lee Seobin is driving like a maniac, flooring the pedal until they hit 220. While other drivers are terrified by their speed, Stardust resolves to start a full investigation into Egostic. We flash back to his past life, where 19-year-old Dayne was reading the comic Stardust. The author constantly puts Stardust through endless misery, leading to a tragic, abrupt ending. That manga had pushed the frustrating, useless protagonist trope to the absolute extreme before Dayne drifted off to sleep. Suddenly, a blinding light flashed in the sky and now Dayne's lie inside the recovery tank at his secret base. Sun watches over him looking completely exhausted, and when Lee Seobin brings some food, Sun has no appetite to eat. Looking at Dayne's heavily bandaged body, she can barely stop herself from bursting into tears all over again. But as Sun forces down a bite, Dayne's weak voice suddenly echoes from the tank, teasing his dear little helper. He jokes that she's eating while her boss is practically dying, and realizing he's finally awake, Sin bursts into tears of relief. This is followed by a hilarious round of playful, angry punches and tearful complaints from her. And that's where we leave it, as the internet debates if a victimless villain plan is truly a crime. Alright, you and I are jumping into a story where Shin-Haru knew Egostic's phone call was the only thing that saved everyone. She could never have stopped that disaster alone, and somehow he already knew her powers had taken a massive leap forward. But how did he know? Maybe it was a coincidence, but her new strength was undeniably real. Still, another detail felt off. The villains Egostic had eliminated were all ability users destined to trigger massive apocalyptic disasters in the future. No matter how she looked at it, Egostic was far from a hero, but he was no ordinary villain either. He was definitely playing a much bigger game, and during his next criminal operation, she had to expose his identity. If that was true, then what was the actual purpose behind Egostic's high-profile terrorist attacks? He even knew that Hero Association President Park Jun-ho's real name was actually Park Myong-chun. Could Egostic actually be a former S-rank hero who turned villain after a clash with the association? While the three of them ate, Han Seo-yoon read those rumors out loud. The conspiracy theory about Egostic's past clash with the association was spreading fast, and listening to it made Kim Don feel terrible. Even Lee Soo-bin told Han Seo-yoon to stop teasing him for a moment. Han Seo-yoon looked at Kim Dayan and asked, "What are your plans now? Will you keep screaming you are a villain and staging crimes? With your body in this wrecked condition? Do you seriously think you can keep going?" Kim Dayan explained that he desperately needed to rest for at least 3 months, which finally let Han Seo-yoon and Lee Soo-bin relax. Kim then told them he would lay low for a while, letting public interest in him naturally fade away over time. But during this break they would recruit a new member, the only healer from the original story of Stardust. If left on her own, she would eventually become a balance-breaking villain. Since Kim Dayan did not want to kill her, he had to win her over. Now pay attention here, because 3 months later a new threat appears, forcing Stardust back into action. Her first question was immediate: is it Egostic? But the answer was no. This new villain called himself Low Point. No one knew what Egostic had been doing for the past 3 months, but at that exact moment, Kim Don was cheering Stardust on like a loyal fanboy. And without a doubt, the villain Low Point got absolutely destroyed. With her recent power-up, Stardust was undeniably stronger. Han Seo-yoon glared at him, asking if watching her was really that fun. "We need to start working, because I cannot stand seeing you browse Stardust fan forums every single day anymore." Kim Don immediately tried to play dumb, but Han Seo-yoon coldly exposed him as the master of the Stardust fan club. "Did you really think I wouldn't find out? I'm a hacker." Kim Don quickly argued it was just a small hobby. "We're about to see their next operation kick off, and trust me, it's all about recruiting their newest member." Meanwhile, in another part of the city, a young woman casually walked past 2 pedestrians and deliberately bumped into one of them. She offered a polite, apologetic smile, but she had already slickly swiped the person's wallet without them noticing. Unbeknownst to her, a group of thugs had been watching her. Just then, her 13-year-old younger brother, Lee Chae-yoon, ran up. Noticing her brother was injured, she immediately activated her ability to heal him, gently telling him to head home first. She promised to buy him something delicious later. This young girl was Lee Ha-yul, destined to become the notorious villain Tex. But when she returned home, a group of thugs was waiting. Their leader sneered, calling her a cutie who got caught. This group belonged to the Swamp Dogs gang, and they had already warned her about this. "Steal on our turf and hide the cash, and we kill you." Lee Ha-yul demanded they release her brother, but the leader only mocked her. "It looks like your sister still doesn't know her place, so today we're going to teach her a lesson." He raised his blade to strike, but in the next split second, a sudden powerful force sent his knife flying away. An invisible force battered the other gang members, and in an instant over a dozen weapons materialized, aiming directly at them. Lee Ha-yul grabbed her brother and pulled him close. Today was the 17th, and it was also a Friday. In the original novel, today was the exact day her younger brother Lee Chae-yoon was supposed to die by these thugs. That tragedy would have pushed her over the edge, turning her into a villain. If Kim Dayan had arrived a second later, everything would have shattered. Lee Ha-yul quickly noticed the newcomer's presence and instinctively shielded her younger brother behind her back. Kim Don greeted them warmly, saying he was there to pick them up. Lee Ha-yul warily demanded to know his true intentions. Pointing out he was a notorious villain, Kim Don simply chuckled and replied that he was obviously there to save them. He warned her that things would get messy if anyone else arrived, but she gritted her teeth, refusing to go with a known criminal. He was a villain after all, and honestly, would you trust him either? Alright, you and I are diving right back in as little brother Chaeyoung runs over shouting, "Egostic! I'm actually a Mango crew member too!" Dayne definitely did not see this coming. A bit later, he brings the siblings back to their base, announcing, "Everyone, meet our newest crew members. Go ahead, introduce yourselves." Hyul nervously speaks up, saying, "Hello, my name is Lee Hyul, and this is my little brother Chaeyoung." Seo-yoon instantly notices that their new recruit is not only a crucial healer, but also another girl joining their ranks. Back inside the hideout, Seo-yoon can easily tell that Hyul is still keeping her guard up around them. She looks just like Seo-won did when they first met. Suddenly, Seo-won spots Dawn drinking straight from the juice bottle again. She immediately yells, "I told you not to drink straight from the bottle." Dayne quickly defends himself, saying, "This is my mango juice, yours is in the fridge," but Hyul still looks incredibly tense. So Dayne asks Seoeun and Subin to step outside for a bit, needing some quiet time to talk with Hyul alone. On her way out, Seoeun playfully sticks her tongue out at him, leaving only Dayne and the two siblings in the room. Now pay attention here, because Dayne looks straight at Hyul and drops a bombshell. You ran away after killing your orphanage director, right? He reveals that he knows the director was abusing them, meaning this meeting was never a random coincidence. He tracked them down on purpose because he wants them to live happily, and not just in some dinky underground bunker. He already set up a portal, and they are moving into a massive house soon. They will live together, and both siblings can finally go to school. Hyul simply cannot comprehend why this stranger is being so kind. They literally just met, but Dayne explains, honestly it is because I have a younger sister around your age. That is why. Chaeyoung eagerly chimes in, confessing that he has watched every single one of the Mango Crew's criminal broadcasts multiple times. Dayne smiles and tells them, let's live together, it will be fun. We're not as bad as you think. He then guides them straight to the portal. Hyul remains highly skeptical, but with her younger brother already happily following the villain, she has no choice but to tag along. Stepping through, Dayne asks, so do you like it? This is going to be our brand new home from now on. Chaeyoung is already loving it. Dayne explains that his room is on the 3rd floor, while he set up 2 spacious rooms for them on the 2nd floor. He tells them not to worry about school tuition since they should be studying, and fortunately, he happens to be filthy rich. If they are still unsure, they can stay for a few days to think it over and are free to leave whenever they want. Hyul remembers the terrifying gangsters from earlier and realizes she can never safely return to her old life anyway. And since her younger brother is already absolutely loving this place, she finally has no choice but to agree. Dayne grins, saying, awesome, let's get along from now on. So he successfully recruits his ultimate healer. But wait, you and I both know Dayne definitely forgot something super important. What could it be? Meanwhile, S-rank hero Shinharu is obsessively scrolling through online forums, wondering if Egostic is actually dead. It has been nearly 4 months. Why hasn't he shown up yet? Where on earth is he hiding? She needs him to return. Did he actually retire? Haru desperately wants to know where Egostic is and what he is doing. Meanwhile, in a shadowy facility, a voice whispers that once Dr. Kim Sun-woo is released from prison, they will ensure he witnesses their completed project. Once that happens, all of Korea will kneel beneath the Hanan group, and absolutely nobody can stop them anymore. The room of mad scientists erupts into maniacal laughter. Meanwhile, back at the house, Hyul and Subin are busy cooking up a meal. Hyul is well aware that Subin is the infamous criminal who was once kidnapped by Egostic himself. 4 months have flown by since that chaotic incident, and contrary to the crazy rumors online, Subin is living a very peaceful life. In fact, Dayne, the mastermind behind Egostic, even upgraded them all to this beautiful house with amazing sunlight. Dayne cannot help complaining, asking Seo why she still insists on sleeping in the basement, especially since she always used to call that dark underground spot the ego base. Hyul also realizes that if Dayne ever returns badly injured from a villain run, she will be the one healing his wounds. They are fast approaching the time to prepare for the looming black disaster planned by the Han-yoon group. Suddenly, Seo-yoon bursts into the room. She yells, Mangostic, there you are. Let's go cause some criminal chaos already. I am absolutely dying of boredom here. Knowing that the perfect moment has finally arrived, Dayne gathers the entire crew together. But Hyul looks totally confused, asking, wait, why do we have to commit crimes? This simple question completely stumps the 3 seasoned villains. Honestly, they really should give her a proper answer. Seo-yoon impatiently rolls her eyes and urges, hey old man, hurry up and get to the point. Dayne freezes, crying out, wait, I am an old man now? Looking at Hyul, he simply replies, look, we're villains, so we've got to do villain things. And trust me, you and I can't wait. Let me show you a mastermind who claims his evil plans never hurt anyone. To keep up Egostic's reputation, we have to put on theatrical shows, construct crazy dilemmas, and clash with Stardust. Essentially, we perform villainous acts that somehow help that hero. This upcoming scheme is called Bridge Collapse, because a massive monster is set to attack Yoido Island this winter. Once it lands, the beast will march north and destroy the entire peninsula. But if they blow up the bridge ahead of time during this stunt, the giant beast will plunge straight into the river. Water is its ultimate weakness, so falling in means instant death. This way they can pull off a spectacular villain hist while silently saving the day. It is a brilliant way to hit 2 targets with 1 strike. Honestly, Seo-yoon has no idea how Kim Dayne gets all this inside info. Kim Dayne just gives a mysterious smile, calling it a trade secret. Either way, this plot lets them play villain while stopping a threat. Plus, it is not actually designed to hurt Stardust either. Now pay attention to this twist, because Seo Yoon immediately smiles and asks what style they are using this time. Kim Dayne answers, "This time we are using cash." Soon the broadcast goes live, and the chat immediately explodes with crazy hype. Egostic is back. Kim Dayne looks right at the lens and says, "I have returned." You guys already know what comes next, right? What else do villains do on a bridge? We blow it sky high. People on the bridge immediately panic, realizing a terrorist attack is underway. With a massive blast, both exits get completely blocked off. Kim Dayne stares directly into the camera and says, "All right everyone, freeze right there. The hostages on this bridge are ready, but the real players are every single one of you, watching this broadcast across the country. Yes, I mean you. The rules are incredibly simple. Just input your bank details on the screen, and you will instantly get 100,000 won. This ends at 7 tonight. But if over 500,000 people take the cash, I detonate this bridge and everyone on it. Choose carefully. Free money versus innocent lives. The ultimate psychological test for the entire nation starts right now." To top it off, Kim Dayne adds a cheeky message, "Stardust, do not bother showing up today, get some rest." The chat immediately starts trolling him. Look at Egostic, the caring villain, looking out for his favorite hero's beauty sleep. I know what you think, and yeah, she is showing up anyway. She is a hero. Suddenly, a streak of light flashes from the horizon. It is Stardust. Kim Dayne is so shocked he almost fumbles his detonator. Forcing a cool expression, he tries to play it off. "Hey Stardust, long time no see." But this time she just glares at him with pure rage. Kim Dayne instantly starts sweating. She does not say a word, just burns a hole through him. Meanwhile, across town, an office worker is grinning at his phone. He nudges his manager excitedly. "Boss, check this out. If we register our bank accounts here, we get free money. But if 500,000 people do it, the bridge blows." It is Egostic's latest stream. The boss scowls, asking who would be shameless enough to take blood money. The guy sheepishly admits he already did. The manager snaps at him on the spot. "How can you be so incredibly selfish?" The guy stammers an apology, confessing he took the cash the second the alert popped up. Then he spots his boss's screen and laughs. "Nice poker face, Chief, you claimed it too." Meanwhile, people nationwide are calling their parents to grab their bank details for free cash. Amazingly, the money actually lands in their accounts. Back on the bridge, Kim Dayne is stunned by how greedy people are. Worse, Stardust is absolutely glaring daggers at him. Is she seriously waiting for the countdown to hit 0 before attacking? Why is she just silently watching him? Was there some tragic backstory about a bridge in the webtoon that he missed? He never expected her to look this furious. A wave of guilt hits him, but he cannot stop. Everything he is doing is to save her life. If the black disaster strikes exactly like the novel, the current Stardust stands absolutely zero chance of surviving it. That upcoming event is the first real tragedy of the original comic. From that point on, the cozy hero story completely shatters, turning pitch black. Checking his phone, Kim Dayne sighs. In this twisted cash versus bridge game, 450,000 people have already taken the bribe with 3 hours left. Humanity's greed is truly unmatched here. Even if he stands still, he is basically guaranteed to hit that target. So what do you and I take from this? He turns on his stream and mutters, "My fellow citizens, I really did not expect you all to choose cash. Alright, you and I both know that because of some totally heartless people, these hostages, who could die at any second, are completely out of my hands." Dayne wondered if the people inside the cars would act weird again, so he interviewed a civilian. "Thank you for your time. Please introduce yourself," the man replied. "Hello everyone, my name is Cho Young-jin." Dayne asked, "You are facing a life-threatening situation right now. Do you feel anxious or nervous?" Cho Young-jin burst out laughing on the spot. "Why on earth would I be nervous? As long as the livestream viewers do not take the money, the bridge and I are safe, right? I can only apologize to you for them." After that, many who had already claimed the 100,000 won started apologizing in the comments, while others hesitated to take it. Dayne could only say, "Thank you for believing in the conscience of South Korea's citizens." He asked again, "Mr. Young-jin, do you honestly believe them? Do you have any final words for everyone?" Cho Young-jin said, "Seriously, let's go Korea, I believe in you all." Stardust could not grasp what Egostic was planning. Dayne, on the other hand, was so incredibly exhausted that he was ready to collapse. Dayne just hoped this interview would produce one normal reaction. But pay attention here, the moment he opened another car's window, a massive roar echoed from inside. "Look, it is Egostic." The people inside went absolutely crazy, shouting, "He is so handsome, we must buy lottery tickets after this." Wait, if we die today, we can't buy them, right? Honestly, they all looked way too excited. Manga Stick, we are your absolute biggest fans. But wait, are you actually going to kill us? You threaten us every single time, but you always let everyone go. Dayne felt his mind go totally blank, stiffly announcing the interview was over. Then those bizarre civilians actually asked Dayne for his autograph. Dayne definitely did not expect to sign 4 autographs in a row. The comments were flooded with people saying they could not tell who the real victims were anymore. To top it off, they happily added, "Thanks for the 100,000 won, that is 400,000 total. We are eating malatang later. Though if we die today, we can't eat it, right?" Dayne silently swore that he would absolutely never interview civilians ever again. His grand criminal scheme was completely ruined. Dayne spoke into the mic, "All right, everyone, start up the live stream. The 7 o'clock deadline we set is finally here. The nationwide public crime game 100,001 versus The Bridge. Time to reveal the results." In the live chat, some insisted the claims would never hit 500,000. Others were apologizing to Yongjin, while some panicked, screaming about how they would get to work if the bridge got destroyed. Dayne simply announced with a cold, mocking laugh, "And yeah, I know what you are thinking, but 500,000 people took the cash. Korea's citizens are truly remarkable. Now please enjoy the spectacular fireworks prepared for your greed." With a massive boom, the entire bridge began to blow up. Stardis knew that in the end he had actually done it. Dayne looked straight into the camera and said, "And with that, I, Egostic, take my leave." Deafening explosions instantly ripped across the entire span of the bridge. Because Dayne had been floating in mid-air for so long, his raw physical stamina was already hitting its absolute limit. He wanted to watch Stardis rescue everyone one final time and slip away, but the very last car was still just too far away. At this rate, Stardis would never grab it in time. So Dayne triggered his telekinesis, forcing the falling car forward just a tiny bit. That clutch move finally allowed Stardis to catch the vehicle. Thank goodness, everyone inside was saved. But in the next second, Dayne's head spun violently as his unconscious body began free-falling from the sky. At the very last second, he forced a final teleportation to escape back home. Subin and Ryubin immediately rushed to his side. Dayne had sustained incredibly severe injuries once again. Seeing him in such a terrible state, Ryubin instantly burst into heavy tears. This damage was absolutely devastating, and with Lee Ha-yul still out, the girls had no idea how to treat him right away. Meanwhile, Stardis was still deeply fixated on Egostic, carefully analyzing every single terrorist operation he had ever pulled off. The villain had even warned her never to reveal her true identity in front of other people. Without his voice pushing her back then, she would have never stepped up. Every time she heard him, a surge of power filled her entire being. He seemed to understand everything about her, whispering that she could do it, urging her to stand up and save everyone. He was clearly a dangerous criminal, yet he had vanished for so long. There were so many questions she desperately wanted to ask him. Are you truly just a villain? Are you actually a bad person, Egostic? Who on earth are you? But because of that unexplainable feeling, she could not ask him. Trust me, you and I cannot miss what happens next. You and I both know that Egostic was actually the one who saved that car at the very last second. The 4 passengers had no idea they almost died. Stardust understood, but she understood Egostic less and less. Suddenly, a familiar voice called out from behind her, asking why she was standing there getting so sentimental. The Ranka hero Frostblade had arrived, teasing her cute Haru about yet another victimless crime. Shin Haru greeted her quietly. Lee Sola sighed, murmuring about how nice it was to enjoy a quiet, peaceful day. Then she asked, "Since you are already off the clock, why are you still working? Is this about Egostic again? Quit overthinking for now. You have no idea how thrilled the president secretly is about the dropping crime rates, even if he never says it out loud." Reflecting on this incident, Shin Haru shared her thoughts. She realized Egostic might not be torturing her on purpose. He might not even be a bad guy. Meanwhile, over at the hideout, Kim Dayne was resting inside the recovery pod when Ha-yul walked in. She wondered if saving this man was truly the right choice. He seemed decent, but what if he eventually turned greedy and tried to steal her power like the others did? He knew absolutely nothing about her, yet he still saved both her and Cha-yun. After wrestling with her doubts, Ha-yul finally decided to help Kim Dayne. It looked like his plan to recruit a healer succeeded. Now pay attention, Shin Haru actually notices how Egostic's terror attacks never harm any innocent civilians. Every single person he eliminated was actually a villain, and during that massive bridge collapse, he saved the last remaining car. Hearing this, Lee Sola could not help teasing her. Oh my god, Haru. Do not tell me you actually believe that crazy rumor about Egostic secretly being that dark rankus hero Apple Mango. What is your fan ID? Shin Haru instantly snapped that she had no such thing. Lee Sola admitted there were definitely strange things about Egostic, but the guy was also clearly working overtime to play the bad guy. Sure, he had avoided casualties, but that peaceful streak only applied to innocent ordinary citizens. For now, they had to treat him as a threat, but Shin Haru believed everything Egostic did was for some distant future. She just did not know what that future was yet, prompting Lee Sola to cut her off helplessly. Hey, Miss Workaholic, stop obsessing over that weird top hat villain already and tell me if you have a crush. You need to start dating. Shin Haru instantly fired back that since Sola had been single her whole life, she was no expert. Lee Sola flusteredly explained that her strict family controlled her private life, so it was definitely not due to a lack of options. The Ranka hero Lee Sola, famously known as Frost, was actually the wealthy heiress of the massive Meteor Group, and Shin Haru found her flustered panic absolutely adorable. Elsewhere, the dangerous Rank S villain Dr. Kim Sun-woo was finally released from his prison cell. As the lead scientist of the powerful Hanan Group, he immediately demanded a full progress report on their secret plan. His subordinate nervously reported that they were at 56%, on track for completion by next September. Kim Sun-woo snapped back coldly, calling it too slow, demanding it be finished before winter ends. He vowed to trample all of Korea under his feet. At the same time, the news reported that Dr. Kim Sun-woo, locked up on suspicion of conducting unethical human experiments, was released at 7 today, rejoining the Hanan Group's front lines. A dangerous new player has entered the game, and trust me, we are not ready. Fast forward 3 months, and the first winter snow finally began to fall as our crew enjoyed some much-needed relaxation. A playful snowball fight quickly erupted, but when Kim Dae-in used telekinesis, Seo-yoon immediately started cursing. She yelled at him for playing dirty, but Kim Dan still trapped her inside a giant snowball. As the crew headed inside to grab warm snacks, Seo-yoon seized her chance and launched a sudden sneak attack from his blind spot. Just like that, 3 whole months flew by as the group peacefully enjoyed their winter downtime. Kim Dae-in did consider staging another dramatic terror operation during this peaceful break. However, Stardust was already significantly stronger than her original timeline self, so he did not need to push her growth any further right now. Something else shifted too. Ha-yul's face looked much brighter lately, meaning she had finally opened her heart to their little family. Meanwhile, public opinion regarding the villain Egostic had also taken a massive turn. Angry crowds blamed him entirely for the bridge collapse, dragging his public reputation deep into the absolute gutter. In the end, even those greedy cowards shifted all their guilt onto Egostic. Let that sink in. Let's dive in. Everyone blamed Egostic for creating those bizarre, chaotic conditions. He supposedly forced their hand, turning them into accomplices, but Kim Dae-in did not care one bit. After all, this was the exact kind of villain he wanted to be. Now he just had to wait for the black disaster. So his peaceful everyday life continued, filled with simple, happy moments. Then, out of nowhere, a massive explosion shook the facility. Dr. Kim Sun-woo stared in absolute horrified disbelief. How did things go so wrong? There was no time to think, he had to escape immediately. But he just could not bring himself to abandon his life's work. That monster behemoth was supposed to be nothing more than a simple test subject. How on earth did it gain self-awareness? Meanwhile, the Hero Association received an emergency report. Stardis rushed to the scene immediately. A terrifying giant monster was threatening innocent civilians. The beast was charging straight toward the city. Stardis prepared to deploy, but the president told her to cool it. How could she possibly stop a monster that massive all on her own? Stardis snapped back, declaring she'd find a way so the president could just sit there, grab some popcorn and watch. But watch closely, because the very next second, the monster suddenly experienced a massive glitch. With one massive leap, the beast dove straight into the ocean and died. Neither of them could process what they just saw. Stunned, the president just ordered her to submit a report tomorrow. Meanwhile, Kim Dae-in was literally eating popcorn, enjoying the whole show. Poor Shin Haru was stuck writing paperwork all night while Kim Dae-in browsed the online hero forums. Every user was debating the exact same question. Is Egostic actually a villain? The massive creature known as the Black Disaster already seemed to possess some form of intelligence. If it became fully self-aware, it could evolve in dangerous ways. Even 3 S-rank heroes working together would be forced to fight it for an entire day. And even then, their chances of survival would be incredibly slim. If the Black Disaster had fully awakened and learned to protect itself from water, its main weakness, Every hero in Korea could have died. Below the post, thousands of citizens were already praising Egostic. Let's pause for a second. Shinharu realized that if Egostic hadn't destroyed that bridge beforehand, the entire country would have been completely doomed. Still, a villain is a villain. The next morning, news broke that a massive investigation had begun. The illegal experiments of Hanan Group, the country's top megacorporation, had caused the entire disaster. The shocking revelation sent waves of panic nationwide. The corporate giant went bankrupt overnight, and every executive vanished without a trace. The chairman, along with Dr. Kim Sun-woo and the entire team of scientists behind the experiment, had all mysteriously vanished into thin air. Kim Dayne and his crew were watching. Lee Hyol noted coldly that those corrupt scientists got exactly what they deserved. Seo went even further, screaming that they should hunt down every survivor, dig up their ancestors' graves, and wipe out their entire families. But Kim Dayne calmly assured them that those cowards would crawl out of hiding soon enough. More importantly, he ordered everyone to gather up after dinner. Soon instantly knew he was plotting something. Sure enough, Kim Dayne pulled out a map of Hanan Group's secret underground lab, and hidden inside was a weapon of pure terror. Behemoth was a biological superweapon designed to block Shadow Walker's abilities. It was so durable it could even withstand a direct nuclear strike. This creature was forged from a miraculous substance. If perfected, its sheer power would make the Black Disaster look like a joke. It would possess power beyond all human imagination. Hearing this, the crew looked completely exasperated. Sin couldn't help but sigh. So we are dealing with a mutant army now? Are you planning to destroy your own body again? Is life too easy lately? Lubin chimed in, joking that a few more holes in his stomach would look pretty stylish. Sun mocked him too, asking if they should get ear piercings. The next second, she and Lubin lunged straight at Kim Dayne. Kim Dayne quickly explained that, in the original timeline, the Hero Association never took any follow-up action, so everything should be fine. Meanwhile, the association detected multiple massive life signals coming from deep inside the ruins. It seemed the secret monsters Hanan Group researched were still very much alive. Shadow Walker's entry was blocked by a strange dark substance, and that's where we leave it. Trust me, things are about to get crazy. You and I are about to see that his shadows are blocked, meaning the association can't help him. The president asked if she was still going, and Stardis did not hesitate. The mission to explore the Hanan Group's underground lab officially begins. Outside, Kim Dayne was also gearing up to move. Since this was an unplanned raid, he was naturally nervous. When his radio warned him he could still turn back, Kim Dayne immediately acted tough. A real man would never be afraid of monsters, but Seo and Liubin still seriously warned him to be careful. True to form, Kim Dayne immediately started a live stream. This is the Han Group underground facility, the source of that horrible disaster. What did they actually do down here? Since everyone is dying to know, he heads inside. By now, the association had already completely lost contact with Stardust. Then they realized Egostic had slipped inside too. The president roared on the spot, "Who does this guy think he is? Why did he even go in?" Then he instantly ordered his assistant to grab popcorn, half caramel, half salted. The underground lab was pitch black as Kim Dayne whispered to his camera, "What did those shady bastards do down here?" Now watch the chat here. Even the viewers were totally creeped out, saying the place looked terrifying and the air felt wrong. Kim Dayne forced himself to stay calm, saying he is the man who makes all of Korea tremble. How could he possibly be scared? But a sudden noise startled him so badly he instantly activated his telekinesis. Looking closely, he realized it was just a tiny cat, and it actually looked completely harmless. But seriously, why would a cat be down here? Things were starting to get stranger and stranger. The next second, the cat suddenly transformed into a terrifying monster, one covered in countless arms. Stardust heard the gunfire from elsewhere in the facility, while Kim Dayne started deeply regretting his choices. He should have listened to Sun and stayed away. Training his telekinesis at home would have been way better. But with the monster already charging at him, regret was useless. No matter what, he had to take Behemoth out of here. So Kim Dayne immediately used telekinesis to control his weapons, opening fire on the charging beast. Once the heavy smoke cleared, the monster was gone. Kim Dayne had no idea how deep this place actually went. In all that chaos, he lost both his camera and weapons. To make matters worse, the signal was dead, meaning he couldn't contact Suwon. At this point, Kim Dayne was genuinely starting to get scared. Just then, with a loud boom, someone smashed straight through the wall. That familiar feeling hit Kim Dayne immediately. Could it really be Stardis? You and I both know they were bound to clash. Stardis spots Egostic, and they immediately raise their guards, questioning each other. Why are you here? Stardis asked coldly. I am a hero. Isn't it normal for me to handle a crisis like this? Dayne thought about it and realized she had a solid point. The answer made sense, but Stardis saw this as an unexpected game. Before Dayne could even process the situation, he got totally distracted by her smile. Stardis warned him, if you let me capture you quietly, I won't make it hurt too much. At the absolute last second, Dayne managed to dodge her strike using his teleportation. He quickly shouted, wait, stop for a second. I know I am just a villain to you, but look around first. This place is extremely dangerous, and you still have no idea what they were actually doing down here, do you? Since we are both stuck here, why don't we team up until we reach the bottom? Stardis immediately questioned him. Why did you come here? Dayne answered, simple curiosity. They created a disaster that's terrifying, so they must have built other weapons down here. After thinking it over, Stardis agreed to cooperate. After all, fighting these monsters alone would be tough. Since Egostic was already here, she might as well put him to work. Dayne honestly didn't expect his casual suggestion to actually work. Stardust knew that if she tried to force a capture now, Egostic would just escape again. Keeping him close was a safer bet. Maybe the endless questions she had about him could finally be answered this time. But the moment they stepped inside, Dayne began snooping around. Stardust got so annoyed she threw a punch at him. You are a villain. Why are you snooping through classified files? That almost gave Dayne a heart attack. Still, just the thought of working alongside Stardust made him secretly ecstatic. Stardust began navigating the dark tunnels purely on instinct. Watching her find the path so easily, Dayne was totally blown away. And that's where we leave it. Has she really unlocked sensory perception already? Alright, you and I are dropping in right as they reach the superpower suppression room, where Stardust orders Dayne to enter first. Feeling her overwhelming physical pressure, Dayne has no choice but to agree, silently complaining that he has basically become her lab rat. Once inside, he immediately realizes his telekinesis is totally gone, and his teleportation has completely stopped working too. A second later, Stardust walks in and punches the wall, testing if the room really suppresses their powers, and it turns out she was right. Dayne can only sigh and say, I might be a villain, but I would never lie about a thing like this. But secretly, he is totally shocked. How is she this strong with pure physical force? Her growth speed is terrifying. Right then, a sudden alarm blares out, and the heavy metal door they entered through slams shut. Trapped in this sealed room, a powerless villain and a powerless hero are left all alone. To make matters worse, they are fully grown adults. Stardust immediately starts pounding the door, but Dayne yells, it is no use. Stop wasting your strength. Look at that screen, there is a timer. The door opens automatically in 3 hours. Punching it won't change anything right now. We just have to sit tight and wait for the time to run out. As he speaks, he notices Stardust hurt her hand from punching so hard. Now pay attention to his reaction as he asks why she is being so reckless. You cannot use your powers right now, remember? Hearing this, Stardust immediately shoots him a highly suspicious look. Dayne sighs, offering his hand and telling her to give him hers. After hesitating, Stardust finally lets him wrap her injuries. Awkwardly turning away, she says she will not thank him, making Dayne immediately fire back. That literally sounds exactly like saying thank you. But before long, she goes right back to punching the wall. Realizing there is absolutely no way to convince this stubborn hero to stop, Dayne says he is going to lie down. There is absolutely nothing to do for the next 3 hours anyway, so he tells Stardust she should try to rest up too. But how could he actually fall asleep? Honestly, he cannot let his guard down for even a second while trapped in here. Without his powers, he is stuck facing Stardust, whose raw physical strength easily surpasses any ordinary grown man. Relaxing is impossible. But check this out, after 2 hours pass, the oxygen in the room actually starts to run dangerously thin. This is getting genuinely bad, and even Stardust looks like she is having a hard time breathing. Covering her face, she suddenly asks, during that bridge incident, was that flying car actually you? Dayne's heart completely sinks because she actually noticed. As she asks again if he stopped it, he quickly pretends not to understand. I am just a villain who only knows how to charge ahead without ever looking back. Claiming he has no idea, Stardust presses him further, asking why he stepped in to save that falling plane. Dayne panics so hard his mind goes blank. Desperately trying to find an excuse, he stammers that he already told her. He is the villain and she is the hero. That is just the dynamic they share. Since when is it weird for a hero to save lives? Stardust stays silent, processing his incredibly tense answer. He knows he sounded overly dramatic because of his panic, but he can easily blame his bad acting on the thinning air. Stardust interrogates him again, asking how he knew the monster would appear and target that specific bridge. How could he predict its path? Dayne immediately fires back, demanding to know why she is buying into ridiculous online conspiracy theories. He claims he was shocked too and it was just a massive coincidence, but her skeptical expression does not budge. His nerves tighten under her gaze. What does that look mean? Is she testing him right now? Did he slip up? From the bridge to the plane, she is not just falling for online rumors. Through all their wild encounters, she has begun to suspect he is far more than just a simple villain. She is actively questioning his past terrorist incidents, driven by her sharp instincts as a top hero. Failing to explain this will only make her doubts grow worse. It looks like he has no choice but to face it head-on. Dayne suddenly bursts out laughing, admitting that he indeed knew the terrifying beast was coming. Everything was set up in advance to handle the beast, prompting Stardust to demand how he knew. Does he have some future sight? Dayne simply smiles and credits it all to hacking. Korea's entire network is in the palm of his hand, so uncovering the Han Group's classified files is child's play. Still sensing something is off, Stardust asks why a villain would protect civilians, prompting a cold sneer from Dayne. Because he refuses to let anyone else steal his spotlight, especially some random monster. If civilians suffer too much, his attention vanishes, and you and I know he will do absolutely anything to keep the spotlight on himself. Honestly, if it wasn't for that, why should I care if normal people live or die? What is it to you anyway? Let's dive right into this crazy moment. Hearing his answer, Stardust stood up and walked toward Dayne with a really strange look on her face. Dayne braced himself for a fight, but Stardust simply told him to step aside because her 3-hour limit was finally up. With her powers fully restored, Stardust shattered the heavy door with one devastating punch. As they kept pushing deeper into the laboratory, they noticed an ominous warning on a nearby machine. Warning notes on a temporary teleporter. The target might escape using teleportation, so maintain top-tier defense at all times. Beware the Mantis model, target attacks from behind. Dayne realized they had actually engineered a teleporter-type ability user. Was this the massive behemoth prototype 0? This was the containment chamber where the Black Disaster was once locked away. It clearly busted out from here. Thankfully, this annoying underground lab search was finally coming to an end. There was absolutely nothing left to see. Stardust suspected if this was just a prototype, the real beast was still hidden. Her sharp intuition left Dayne with no choice but to say, "Let us go check over there then." But Stardust stubbornly insisted on heading the opposite way. Reaching their destination, Dayne recognized it instantly. Yes, this was the legendary behemoth. Without warning, Stardust walked away to inspect the lab files, casually leaving Dayne right next to the behemoth. Here is where you and I need to watch closely. He was desperately trying to act like a villain, yet she was way too relaxed around him. Why did she keep turning her back to him so easily? Honestly, that bruised Dayne's pride as a villain just a bit. Words alone obviously were not working. He had to show her his dark side. So Dayne seized the experimental behemoth container. Stardust whipped around and demanded to know what he was doing. Dayne smirked and replied, "What else?" "Betraying you, of course." Stardust was so furious at his sudden turn that she was completely left speechless. In the original plot, Dr. Kim Sun-woo used Behemoth to battle Stardust. This meant that this massive weapon could absolutely be controlled by him. Charging forward at absolute full throttle, Stardust roared that she would beat him within an inch of his life. The gargantuan fist of the Behemoth clashed directly with Stardust, officially igniting their savage showdown. After only a few fierce blows, the surrounding lab equipment and support pillars were smashed to absolute rubble. Dayne screamed out, asking if she was trying to destroy the entire place. At this rate, the underground facility would cave in. But Stardust coldly challenged him to fight fair and square. Dayne scoffed, asking if she had ever seen an honest villain. "This is what being a true villain means, Stardust. The moment you expose your back, you get stabbed from behind. But don't blink, because a lethal mantis monster suddenly leaped right behind Stardust. With no time left to teleport her away, Dayne leaped directly in front of the lethal strike, taking the brutal blow to shield her. Stardust stood shocked, unable to understand why Egostic would do something like this. Dayne muttered a parting promise, "You owe me one," before instantly vanishing using his teleportation power. Meanwhile, at their base, Seo Yoon was complaining about how Dayne always runs around without leaving any way to contact him. Doesn't he think about those waiting at home? I am getting wrinkles from stress here. Suddenly, a loud clattering noise echoed. Seo Yoon instantly realized Dayne had returned. Preparing to scold him, she yelled, "Bro, what took you so incredibly long? We completely lost contact with you." Hearing her dramatic screams, Lee Subin and Lee Ha-yul rushed over. They gasped in horror, finding Kim Dayne collapsed on the floor, completely drenched in blood. Subin was frozen in shock. Her mind raced toward grabbing first aid kits and calling an ambulance, while Seo-yoon panicked wildly because Kim Dayne was losing far too much blood. Lee Ha-yul quickly ordered Seo-yoon to move aside, instantly activating her rare healing ability. As a bright wave of light flashed, Kim Dayne's severe wounds finally began healing. Back at the ruined lab, Stardis stared blankly at the massive pool of blood left behind. This insane blood loss made her understand him even less. Why did he save her? Once Ha-yul finished healing Kim Dayne, Seo-yoon and Subin wasted no time locking him in handcuffs. They were terrified he would keep causing reckless trouble. Kim Dayne felt like his absolute last shred of dignity had vanished. Soon after, Ha-yul and her brother got ready for school. Before heading out, she softly apologized to Kim Dayne for keeping her powers a secret, but he didn't mind at all. Instead, he sincerely thanked her for saving his life, smiling as he wished them a great first day of school. Once they left, Seo-yoon warned him, "And trust me, you and I agree that if he dares go out, she'll never forgive him." "Alright, you and I are diving back into the madness," as she eyes a heavy round object nearby and asks what he brought. Kim Dayne casually claims it is just a stress relief stone for relaxing, telling her to hand it over. She immediately retorts, questioning how a round sphere relieves stress, but Kim Dayne just pulls the object over and whispers, "Behemoth, wake up!" Soon and Liubin freeze in absolute terror as the handcuffs locking Kim Dayne's wrists instantly shatter into pieces. The next second, countless dark tentacles surge directly towards Soon and Liubin. They are bound tightly and suspended in midair, as Kim Dayne coldly asks if they know their mistake. Terrified, both immediately beg and swear they will never do it again. Meanwhile, Shin Haru tosses and turns all night, unable to sleep because memories of Egostic keep flooding her mind, making her wonder if he is alright. This painful state drags on for an entire month, yet she still remains completely distracted. Kim Jien cannot help but ask, "Haru, why are you spacing out so much lately? Something is definitely bothering you, right? Come on, tell your big sister." After hesitating, Shin Haru asks, "If a villain actually saves a hero, what does that mean?" Kim Jien looks completely confused, asking what on earth she means. Shin Haru quickly covers up by explaining she just read a novel with that exact plot, but Kim Jin reveals she is also hooked on a web novel lately. "It sounds exactly like the story you just described. Do you want to take a look?" And trust me, the title is The Forbidden Love Between the Villain Egostic and Hero Stardis. Seeing that, Shin Haru drops her head onto the desk in utter despair, yet she still cannot stop wondering if he is actually doing all right. Could a mastermind like him really die so easily? No, that is impossible, because a genius planner like Egostic would never go down without a fight. He was the legend who played all of South Korea in the palm of his hand, so he must be out there somewhere, right? When would his next villainous scheme strike? Meanwhile, Kim Dayne has finally come to a major decision of his own. He decides to stop personally leading any criminal missions for a while, wanting to take a much-needed break. While Sin suggests he should just retire forever, Kim Dayne clarifies that this is only a temporary step back. Someone else will be acting in his place, leaving Sin totally confused, but Kim Dayne knows he cannot always lead from the front lines. As their strongest powerhouse, he was previously the only one who could handle these high-profile operations in person. But now they have Behemoth, who can easily hold the hero Stardis at bay. To set up the ultimate challenge for Stardis, he needs a strong helper to serve as her new rival, meaning a fresh recruit is about to join them. Soon after, in another part of town, a man passionately confesses his love, crying out, "Sihi, I love you. These pure white flowers represent my heart, so please accept my feelings." Now pay attention here, because Kim Dayne knows this exact scene from the original novel, but the woman coldly tells the customer to get lost. "I am under massive stress right now, so stop messing around in someone else's sacred place of work." She completely shuts him down with just one sentence, and watching this play out in person makes Kim Dayne smile with amusement. This sharp woman is Choi Seiya. Kim Dayne has been keeping a very close eye on her, knowing that in the future she is destined to become the legendary villain known as Alex. Even though she currently lives as a normal, harmless citizen, she constantly battles dark, destructive urges deep inside, using her exhausting part-time jobs as a temporary way to keep those dangerous impulses locked down. To put it simply, she is a walking time bomb, constantly complaining about this brutal lifestyle, especially since she has to head straight to another shift right after this. Glancing around, she carefully makes sure the coast is completely clear. She finally unleashes her hidden powers to vent her massive stress, and once the energy is released, her mood immediately improves. Suddenly, a familiar voice calls out, and Choi Si-hee instantly recognizes the dangerous intruder. It is Egostic himself, and Dayne smoothly announces that he has been looking for someone just like her. Si-hee, how would you like to use those incredible powers of yours to help me run some criminal operations? Hearing the phrase criminal operations, she immediately calls him a lunatic, but Dayne calmly asks if she views every superpowered individual as a villain. He dares her to attack so he can test her limits, and despite her refusal, a fierce battle quickly erupts between them. Dayne calls upon Behemoth's terrifying strength, forcing Choi Si-hee to go completely all out for the very first time. Yet her frantic attacks cannot even scratch him, but this raw sense of release is exactly what she was craving. This wild rush of power makes her ecstatic, but as we leave things here, Dayne suddenly stops the fight, giving her exactly 1 week to decide. Think it over carefully, Si-hee. You and I are jumping right in as Dayne disappears with teleportation, leaving Si-hee completely powerless to stop him in time. Still, that sudden rush of power was incredible. Meanwhile, on the other side, Dayne stared at the screen in pure disbelief. Seo-yoon said regretfully, "What a shame, Dayne, this is the end of the line for you." Dayne protested instantly, "Seo-yoon, how could you do this to me after I worked so hard to raise you?" She just burst out laughing. "Goodbye, bro." Hyul tried to speak up, begging her to let him off just this once since he was going broke, but Seo-yoon showed no mercy. "Stop talking and go wash the dishes. 3 days of plates for a family of 5 are waiting right there." Dayne could only sigh, realizing he had raised a little tiger. Seo-yoon then asked, "Bro, aren't you supposed to recruit a new member? It has already been 3 days. Is it really okay for you to keep playing around like this?" Dayne answered calmly, by now she should have taken the bait. Meanwhile, Si-hee was completely exhausted from her shift. Even her manager noticed she was struggling, and told her to step outside to get some rest. Once outside, Si-hee checked her phone. With everyone online shouting about Mango, she grew curious about who that actually was. The headline read, "Korea's most influential villain ranked number 1, Egostic." Egostic was the only villain with his own dedicated fan club, being even more popular than actual heroes. Now watch closely because Si-hee was about to realize this guy was a major figure whose criminal operations weren't actually evil in the usual sense. Aside from massive property damage, every single incident ended with 0 casualties. Si thought that maybe she could actually give this a try. After all, she was an electric ability user. Surprisingly, before meeting Egostic, she had never fully unleashed her power, because her parents absolutely despised superhumans and strictly controlled her. She felt like an overcharged battery, completely unable to release the immense electrical energy building up inside her. The pressure kept building inside, and over time, Si-hee's destructive urges warped into a strange, intense obsession. That was exactly why Dayne had handed her a recruitment offer with a strict 1-week deadline. He wanted her to think it over during that time. As the days ticked by, Si-hee desperately tried to endure it. Every day she painfully suppressed her abilities. After a week, while walking home at night, she suddenly heard a faint sound nearby. She instantly shouted with absolute excitement, "Egostic, what took you so long?" I know what you're thinking, she got excited for nothing over a stray cat. But then, a real familiar voice spoke from right behind her. "So, Si, have you considered my offer?" She answered without hesitation. "I'm willing. I'm totally willing. Whatever you want, I will do it. Criminal operations, staging terror, anything. I am completely in. Please, just let me destroy something already." Hearing this, Dayne immediately activated his teleportation. In an instant, he brought Si-hee back to their secret base, announcing, "Everyone, say hello to our newest member, Si-hee." Subin and Hyul both warmly welcomed her, while Seo-won couldn't help but complain, "What, another girl?" Egostic then removed his mask and introduced himself. Si-hee recognized him instantly. "Aren't you that handsome customer from the cafe last week?" The realization made her face turn completely red. Overwhelmed with sheer embarrassment, her electrical powers accidentally flared up, instantly plunging the entire base into darkness. Out of the dark, someone yelled, "Can anyone turn the lights back on?" As the screen went completely black. Another voice whined, "It's because of her electrical burst. Did you guys feel that? My whole body went completely numb." That power was genuinely incredible. Right then, a sudden beam of light cut through the dark, shining directly onto Si-hee's embarrassed face. A kid complained, "What are you all doing? I need to finish my homework. Can someone please turn on the lights?" The complaining kid was Hyul's little brother Chaeyoon. Meanwhile, somewhere else in the city, Another person was dying of curiosity about where Egostic was and what he was planning. Online fans on the forum were desperately guessing when Egostic would return. One post read, "Hit upvote if you want Mango back sooner. Mango Stick versus Apple Mango, the true hero of our era." This was Egostic's official fan club. Suddenly, a system notification popped up on her screen. "Congratulations, you've been promoted to a Mango crew member." Shin Haru had absolutely no idea how she ended up here, remembering what Frostblade had told her earlier. "Haru, did you seriously register on Egostic's fan forum? What a crazy high rank." Recalling those words, she tried to force herself to sleep. But she kept remembering him blocking that attack, telling her, "You owe me. You and I know she is hooked." Let's dive right into a wild story. Back at the base, Choi-se could not stop thinking about him after she accidentally caused a massive blackout with her powers. She kept bowing and apologizing, repeating that it was entirely her fault. Sun said it was no big deal since he was free and could just fix the wiring right now. Dayne patted Choi-se on the shoulder, offering to take her somewhere quiet, so they left the base together. "We are all alone out here," Dayne said. Confused, Choi-se asked him what he was planning to do. Dayne told her to let loose. "You have always wanted to go completely all out with your power, right?" Hearing those words, Choi-se immediately unleashed her lightning, warning him that he had better dodge. As that thunderous power exploded, Dayne quickly used teleportation to warp a safe distance away. He realized this girl was absolutely ridiculously strong as a brilliant flash of blue lightning lit up the night. Totally drained after releasing her massive energy, Choi-se panted and asked if he was satisfied. Dayne assured her she could use her powers freely with them. But Choi-se worriedly asked if their criminal missions would hurt innocent people. Dayne quickly smiled and promised they were strictly non-violent. It sounded pretty shady, but as long as nobody got hurt, she accepted it. Then Choi-se casually asked him his real age. Dayne paused to calculate. "This physical body is 23, he said. Choi-se realized they were actually the exact same age. "Since you investigated me first, why are you still speaking so formally?" Choi-se asked, and Dayne just smiled. "Let's speak casually from now on. Welcome to Team Ego," he said, but Choi-se just stared in disbelief. She seriously doubted his terrible naming sense. But regardless of the name, Choi-se officially began her special power training. Dayne instructed her to visualize the crackling electricity wrapping completely around her body. Then discharge all that energy straight into the ground. A split second later, the earth shook violently. Seojin, who had been rudely woken up by the massive noise, grumbled and asked what they were doing so early. Dayne explained, this was urgent preparation since Choi-se would have to face the hero Stardis in their next heist. Choi-se doubted this move would actually work, and Dayne agreed. But watch closely, because he suddenly remembered something. She was supposed to concentrate the electricity around her feet before firing. "You need to focus all that raw energy down there," he directed. Choi-se successfully released her power and her entire body instantly floated high into the air. Nodding, Dayne declared that was enough training. Seojin handed her a bottle of water, and Dayne watched intently as she drank. Choi-se noticed his gaze immediately and snapped at him, demanding to know what he was staring at. "I am covered in sweat, so go take a shower," she yelled, angrily throwing the plastic water bottle right at his head. "Do you think we all have clean telekinesis like you?" Dayne just smiled and activated his gravity powers. "Say, are you trying to pick a fight with me?" And just like that, the two immediately started clashing. Seojin sighed and told them to grow up. A month passed, and the trio was still staying up late playing video games. Dayne screamed to watch the 9 o'clock direction, furiously complaining about his teammates' awful performance. "Your aim is absolutely trash," he yelled. Yes, Dayne, Seojin, and Choi-se were secretly gaming late into the night. But right as they were screaming, a cold voice suddenly interrupted them. Choi-se gasped and threw her controller. She tossed it away, leaving Dayne holding the bag as Lee Subin caught them all red-handed instead of sleeping. Lee Subin scolded them furiously for hiding out and playing games. They had a major criminal heist planned for today, yet they stayed up gaming until dawn. They had been cooped up for too long and got carried away. Under Lee Subin's intense glare, all three felt incredibly guilty. Dayne quickly tried to de-escalate, suggesting they should all head straight to bed. Choi-se seized the moment to slip away instantly. Dayne tried to follow, claiming he needed rest for tomorrow's big mission. But Lee Subin's icy glare stopped him as the other two secretly watched from the side. They both agreed that an angry Lee Subin was absolutely terrifying and wanted no part of her wrath. The next morning, the hero Stardis received an emergency report ordering all citizens to evacuate the streets immediately. The villain threat report stated everyone within a 350-meter radius had safely evacuated. As the hero rushed to the scene, her first thought was that the mango stick she wanted was finally back. But when she arrived, things felt wrong. A strange woman greeted her. "Let's see what happens next." "All right, you and I are diving into the moment." Stardust faces Elix, the newest member of Team Ego. Seeing it wasn't Egostic, Stardust was clearly disappointed, but she still kept her cold, professional composure. "Villain, freeze and surrender right now. If you resist, I will have to take you down by force." He instantly unleashes her powers, firing a massive bolt of electricity right Stardust. "I'm Elix. For his sake, I will be your opponent," she yells, that close shave attack clearly grazing Stardust's cheek. Flashback to a week before Elix's debut, when Kim Dan visits her. She asks, "Didn't our training end yesterday?" "What's left?" In smiles. "I forgot to teach you your ultimate finishing move. It's called the lightning punch." Sounds pretty epic, doesn't it? Want to know how it actually works? She groans at his terrible naming taste, but Dan quietly chuckles to himself, knowing she actually gave it that exact name in the original webtoon. He explains that this special technique isn't about just throwing random electricity around. You have to visualize wrapping the current around your hand, clenching your fist, and throwing a punch. Watch closely here. She has to charge the voltage to its absolute limit, concentrating every drop of power into her fist. Of course, Choi Si does exactly that, throwing a devastating punch that makes the entire atmosphere crackle with power. A massive scorched trench is ripped right into the ground, leaving Dan looking exceptionally proud. "How's that?" "This is lightning punch. Pretty wild, right? You have 1 week before launch, so keep practicing this." Choi Si asks, "You want me to use this on Stardust? Why are you targeting her? That's just cruel." But Dayne just jokes, "Hey, because I'm a villain with a tragic backstory," making her instantly facepalm. "What are you even saying? You sound ridiculous." Cut back to the present, and Elix sneers at her opponent. Is this seriously all an A-rank hero can do? Elix's relentless lightning barrages force Stardust onto the defensive, preventing any head-on counterattack. Meanwhile, someone is quietly observing the chaos from afar. Dayne is watching from the safest front row spot, munching on popcorn in his VIP seat. This whole fight is just a free show for him. The electrical discharge is incredibly painful, but to get close enough to strike Elix, Stardust has to push through the agony. Choi Si quickly realizes her strategy. The hero is stubbornly forcing her way straight through the deadly barrier. So she immediately cranks her electrical output to the maximum. The extreme voltage overloads the surrounding buildings, triggering massive explosions. For a second, she thinks this high-ranking hero might actually be a total pushover. But a moment later, "You won't believe this. Stardust doesn't just survive. She literally tears the current apart." Choi Si is completely stunned. She quickly unleashes more electricity to back away, genuinely wondering if she's fighting an absolute monster. Has Egostic really been fighting a beast like this all this time? Meanwhile, Stardust is already adapting to her attacks. But this is exactly why Dayne trains Sahi so hard. His hidden goal is to level up Stardust's defense. Compared to the horrific, brutal trials she faced in the original novel, this training session is basically a walk in the park. C continues to fire massive lightning bolts, but their impact on Stardust is visibly fading by the second. Stardust stares her down. "Your name is Elix, right? Stand down now and I can arrest you without using any force." "Get lost, you ask for this," C screams as Stardust suddenly charges forward like a blinding streak of light. Desperate, C gathers every remaining drop of her power. Their fists collide head-on in a thunderous explosion, shattering the street and sending violent shockwaves blasting outwards, while Dayne quickly teleports away. Appearing safely behind the battlefield, he turns on his projector screen to check how the clash played out. The feed is crystal clear. Stardust stands almost completely unharmed, with a massive trench carved into the pavement. Sihi, however, didn't fare so well, clutching her heavily injured arm from that brutal collision. Stardust demands answers. "Who is this person you mentioned? Is someone else pulling the strings?" Sihi just sneers. "Like I'd ever tell you," she snaps. But Stardust calmly replies, "That's fine, I have all day to listen." Suddenly, a bright flash erupts and Sihi vanishes. Sensing that trademark teleportation, Stardust instantly knows exactly who has entered the chat. Right on cue, a familiar voice echoes through the area. "Hello, Stardust. Did you miss me? I'm Egostic. Long time no see." Dayne launches his live stream, and the comments immediately explode with hype for the legendary villain. While new viewers ask who that cool girl is, trust me, you'll want to see what's next. Let's dive right into the chaos as the chat explodes. Egostic is caught cheating right in front of Stardust. Since the stream went live, everyone watched in shock as Egostic carried a mysterious woman bridal style. Stardust stares at him, asking if he is really alive. Kim Don has no clue why she cares, but he replies anyway. "Is that bad news for you?" Stardust softly whispers back. "Thank goodness you are okay." Kim Don immediately teases her. "Did you say thank goodness? Wow, I never expected the great hero Stardust to worry about me. Should I let you know I'm safe beforehand next time?" That flusters Stardust, turning her face bright red. Sahi complains, asking why he took so long. "Sorry, I wanted to watch until the very end before stepping in." Only then does Stardust notice that Egostic is still holding a mysterious woman in his arms. Kim Don senses the chilling shift in the air. Stardust looks absolutely terrifying as she marches toward him step by step. A panicked Choi Sahi asks, "What is wrong with her? Why is she acting so weird?" Kim Don has absolutely no idea either. He can only guess that this is just typical hero rage. Stardust looks ready to shred both villains right then and there. After all, Kim Dayne had suddenly crashed in and saved Sahi. She asks coldly, "Egostic, why are you here?" "I came to rescue my ally." Stardust quietly repeats the word, "Ally?" Kim Dayne brings up a screen projecting several silhouettes to introduce his partners in crime. Now watch closely. He reveals Egostic, his personal villain alliance, leaving Stardust completely shocked. Kim Dayne boasts that he has several allies who are just as powerful as Elektra in his arms. He warns her that he won't be operating alone anymore, so she had better watch her back from now on. "Stardust!" Then Kim suddenly yells, "Zap her!" A blast of 100,000 volts of lightning shoots right at Stardust. Choi Sahi complains, pointing out that he literally told her not to use that power earlier. Kim Dayne simply smiles at her. "Stardust, you're still far from catching me, so keep working hard." With those words, they instantly vanish, leaving behind an absolutely furious Stardust who screams at them to stop. She slams her fist into the ground, overcome by a strange, overwhelming feeling of intense irritation. We both know she's totally jealous of how close Egostic and Elektra were acting just now. Her mind won't stop playing weird conversations between those two. Gritting her teeth, Stardust vows she will absolutely crush him the very next time they meet. Meanwhile, Kim Don teleports elsewhere, immediately striking the ground with his fist. With another quick flash of teleportation, he arrives deep underground. Looking around, he confirms he is in the right spot, the 30th floor of the Endless Staircase, complete with a hidden wall, classic corridor, and eerie green candles. And right there stands a massive, imposing obsidian door. A voice echoes from within, welcoming him to their first meeting. The one speaking is none other than the Vine Witch. Kim Dayne requests her help to use sealing magic to lock away two of his diaries. One contains detailed records of this world, and the other predicts the future. He offers a payment box for the seal. Opening the box, the witch admires the gorgeous gems, accepts his request, and asks how long the seal must remain. "Keep them sealed until the day I die." The witch quietly lets out a soft sigh. She then begins casting her spell to bind the books, while Kim Don silently watches the ritual. The witch declares that from now on, absolutely nobody except their owner can read them. Kim Don sincerely thanks her. As he walks away, she warns him that his chosen path is extremely difficult. Hearing this, Kim Don freezes for a brief second. He replies that someone has to do it, but secretly notes that the witch never said anything this kind in the original novel. Later, Kim Don stands entirely alone on a quiet building rooftop. He had only one sole purpose for choosing to survive in this crazy world, and that was Stardust. With darker threats looming ahead, he shouts into the night sky, "Stardust, believe in me!" Just then, his phone rings. They're having eel bowls for dinner and everyone is waiting. Kim Don smiles and replies that he is on his way. "I'll be back in 3 seconds." And just like that, the first major act of his story reaches its end. Soon after, deep inside a high-tech control room, a mysterious figure whispers that the time has finally arrived. With a thunderous crash, a cutting machine erupts from beneath the ground, growing larger and larger by the second. With a chilling declaration to destroy Korea, a massive robot begins rampaging. And trust me, you and I aren't ready for what comes next. Let's travel back to a normal classroom at a busy university. Some students were busy watching a video of Egostic, wondering if his gorgeous partner Alex was actually dating him. Shin Haru, sitting right behind them, overheard everything as another student argued that she was just his comrade. Are you kidding? They looked so close on camera, and who carries just a regular female friend bridal style anyway? Is that just single people logic? They only hug because they are completely platonic. If he actually liked her, he would be too shy to do that. Honestly, that makes total sense. In fact, Egostic has clearly maintained that exact attitude right from the very start. There is no doubt his heart belongs to Stardust alone, which makes me feel so bad for her. Watching the livestream practically made me cry. Even if Egostic is just a villain to Stardust, she must still care about him, right? Carrying another girl right in front of her was so cruel, though someone argued that Egostic and Alex look better together. Right as he said that, he noticed Shinharu nervously tapping on her desk. He quietly whispered to his friend, wondering if she was a hardcore shipper of the Egostic and Stardust pairing. Fortunately, their professor arrived and announced that class was starting. But just as the lecture began, Shinharu received an urgent emergency alert. She quickly packed her bags and rushed out, asking headquarters if a villain had appeared. They reported that an unidentified giant weapon was advancing toward the city outskirts, demanding that Stardust deploy to the scene immediately. Rushing from the Korean Hero Association, Stardust froze in absolute shock at the massive towering robot standing before her. Now watch closely here. The metal beast crushed entire buildings, and a tiny car was about to be flattened. A blinding streak of light darted beneath the giant foot as Stardust successfully saved the car. She yelled at the passengers to escape immediately if their car still worked, before bravely charging back toward the giant robot as a voice echoed from it. Stardust, Hound of the Korean Association, can you stop the ultimate weapon of the Hanan group? Stardust gathered all her power and threw a heavy punch, but the giant robot effortlessly swatted her away. Shocked by its overwhelming force, Stardust immediately got back on her feet and charged right at the monster again. Suddenly, panicked voices echoed from within the cockpit as someone asked what was happening before another voice cut in. Unleashing the electric beast, the giant robot suddenly stumbled and collapsed to the ground. Through the rising smoke, a familiar voice asked if Stardust could hear him. She immediately knew it was Egostic. The giant weapon was glitching out because Team Ego had successfully infiltrated it to seize complete control. Dayne laughed, announcing his identity as Egostic, mocking the Hanyun group for building such a cool weapon. As an elite villain, it would be a total waste not to take this giant robot for a little spin. Sahi muttered that Dayne was a massive cringelord, while Seoyun calmly noted she would soon get used to it. Dayne continued his act, declaring his grand plans to use this incredible weapon to destroy the entire city. Hearing his challenge to stop him, Stardust grew excited, confidently promising that she would definitely bring Egostic down. I know what you are thinking. She charged straight at the robot like a bullet, while Seoyun finished calibrating the output. They gripped the control levers, silently determined to help Haru level up her skills to the absolute maximum today. The robot's mechanical arms hissed to life, clashing head-on in a brutal collision with Stardust's incoming fist. It became painfully obvious that her current power levels were still not enough to match this titanic machine. Dayne threw out a classic villainous taunt, mocking whether she really believed her meager strength could stop his colossal weapon. While laughing in her face, he secretly instructed Seoyun to boost the engine power, eager to finish their intense duel in one single clash. Unleashing its full firepower, the massive robot began swinging its heavy arms relentlessly at Stardust. Stardust realized she needed supreme flexibility to evade these rapid strikes, as her current speed was still lacking. Pushing her body to the absolute limit, Stardust forced herself to move faster to dodge every single heavy strike. This brutal push was exactly what Dayne wanted, secretly hoping he could finally go home in one piece without any injuries. Meanwhile, in another room, someone reported quietly. Reporting to the Korean president that preparations were complete, they knew only one extreme option remained to stop this weapon. And that's where we leave it, with him pressing the missile button, ready to obliterate the entire battlefield. Alright, you and I are jumping right into the aftermath of that intense meeting, where Siwon and Kim Dayne are still totally locked into piloting their giant robot. Dayne seemed completely clueless about the disaster that was creeping up. Stardis effortlessly dodged the massive stream of fire shot by the robot, but right then Kim Dayne finally made his move. He yelled, "Crank up the power another level. If anyone can survive this kind of heat, it is definitely Stardis." Stardis herself was actually getting hyped, but then boom, a devastating blow struck the robot, shaking it to the core. The impact scrambled everyone inside. Still, Kim Dayne slammed his foot on the pedal and pushed ahead anyway. It was time to show off those legendary joystick spinning skills he had perfected back in his arcade days. Stardust was finally getting into the zone, feeling her powers growing stronger by the second as she silently shouted, "Egostic, bring it on!" Step by step, she was adjusting to the giant machine's erratic attack patterns. Egostic was still waiting out there for her, so she had to smash through this roadblock instantly. But the next second, the robot punched her away. Dayne immediately started trash-talking, asking her if she really thought she had figured out his moves. That was pure overconfidence. Hearing him mock her like that instantly set Stardis off. Still, this octopus machine was no joke. In retaliation, Stardis threw a devastating straight punch. Her punch shattered one of the robot's legs, and now watch closely because Siwon panics and yells at Dayne. Dayne just smiled, saying this was where the real fun started. Time to get serious as he ordered the system to maximize output. But nothing happened. A confused Dayne ordered the boost again. Siwon was struggling hard to regain control of the systems, and after a tense delay, the giant machine slowly restarted. Dayne mocked her again, asking if this pitiful speed was her absolute limit. Meanwhile, the livestream chat was going completely wild. People couldn't believe their eyes. This was literally a clash between the strongest entities on the planet. Was this really the same Stardust everyone used to mock as useless? The sheer hype was making the viewers' hearts pump like crazy. Could she actually reach S rank today? Meanwhile, the constant bickering of Seo-won and Dayne echoed inside the cockpit. Their annoying voices only pissed Stardis off more, giving her another perfect reason to absolutely demolish this giant weapon. Egostic's training. If not for Egostic, she would have never stood a chance against a threat this massive. But now, she was ready. Stardust launched herself straight at the robot, hitting it with an impact that shook the whole frame. I know what you're thinking. And even Cho was shocked, wondering how she was getting so much stronger. Siwon warned that the engine's output was redlining, and they only had 10 minutes left to finish the fight. But Dayne yelled, "Then let us enjoy it to the end." Siwon snapped back, "Enjoy my ass, you maniac. This machine will explode at this rate." Meanwhile, poor Lee Subin was getting terribly motion sick as Stardust rocketed right above them. She was targeting the very center of the cockpit because she knew Egostic was trapped in there. Suddenly, an urgent warning flashed from the association, telling Stardust she had to evacuate the area immediately. The president had authorized a tactical nuclear strike on the weapon, and staying there meant certain death. Stardust completely froze. Had the president completely lost his mind? A nuclear blast here would put countless innocent civilians in extreme danger. She was already winning this fight, so why on earth would they do something so reckless? The association admitted that the president just wanted to save face and look useful. This was a national directive, they said. They had no power to stop it, telling her to stop asking questions and get out of there right now. Dayne, who had no clue about the incoming nuke, was still taunting her, asking why she was just standing there. He boasted his robot's fists were itching, but Stardust realized Egostic wasn't attacking. He was actually waiting for her. Was he really a villain who secretly cared for the safety of heroes? He had no clue a missile was incoming, so Stardust quietly ripped off her earpiece. The very next second, she flew straight in the opposite direction without a single doubt. The staff panicked as she disconnected, screaming in confusion, but the association president calmly told everyone to take a breath. He muttered that if they just sat back and observed, the answers would come on their own, so they watched. Dayne had absolutely no idea where she was heading, assuming she was just fleeing like a coward. Sure, Egostic was technically a villain, and the government had plenty of valid reasons to want him dead. He was a mastermind who specialized in high-profile kidnappings. But for some weird reason, Stardust couldn't bring herself to hate him. And trust me, we're about to see her do the unthinkable, charging straight into that incoming nuclear missile. Alright, you and I are about to watch a hero risk it all. As the missile closed in, Stardust remembered Egostic's words, "You owe me one." That promise fueled her resolve to halt the nuclear strike. Before the missile could detonate, Stardust flew in and grabbed it with her bare hands. The devastating impact forced her to unleash every single ounce of her power. Dayne finally noticed something screaming through the air, but he could not tell what it was at first. Then he finally recognized the threat. A nuclear missile? Dayne was frozen in absolute shock. High above, Stardust was pushing past her absolute limits to hold back the destructive force. Slowly, the missile's thrust began to fade. Seizing that moment, she redirected the massive weapon and hurled it straight up into the clouds. Down below, Dayne desperately yelled, "Seo-yoon, do you know what's happening?" Utterly blind to the situation, he was frantically trying to trace the launch origin of the missile. Seo-yoon found the answer almost immediately. She had tracked it. It was a nuke ordered straight from the president's office, and with only 10 seconds left on the timer, they were running out of time. At that exact moment, the Korean president still wore a smug smile, totally unaware of the final second. Stardust gripped the warhead and forced herself to fly higher, while Frostblade was still casually shopping without a single care. Now pay attention here because this is pure madness. Dayne watched in horror as Stardust dragged that nuke deeper into the stratosphere. In the final split second, she threw the missile with everything she had left. A deafening boom echoed as a massive mushroom cloud filled the sky. The nuclear blast erupted harmlessly in midair. Lee Ha-yul stared in shock, and the Hero Association president completely forgot about his bowl of popcorn. The Korean president's face instantly went pale. Even Seo Yoon and Choi Si had never witnessed anything so terrifying. Screaming in pure panic, Dayne yelled out, "Stardust!" But having drained every drop of her energy, she began falling limply from the heavens. Luckily, a hand snatched her from midair. In total panic and frustration, Dayne yelled, "What were you thinking? Why would you do that? You could have died." He pulled her close, landing safely on the solid ground. Let's pause here because this moment gets surprisingly soft. Dayne never expected a powerhouse to feel this delicate, but her gaze made his heart freeze. Oh no, is she furious? Why is she staring at him with those intense eyes? Was she mad because her sworn enemy was holding her? Panicking, Dayne blurted, "Stardust, I thought you fled like a coward. How did you get here so fast? Why would you intercept that? The target was just the giant mechanical octopus, not you. That weapon is already half broken, and a direct hit would have completely taken it out of commission. If we had not stopped it, all of Egostream would have been wiped out. Why would you do this for us?" Stardust merely whispered in reply. "That is why. Let us just say we are even now." With those final, quiet words, she closed her eyes. But what was that faint smile? Did she finally figure it out? Did she realize he was not just some evil villain? Thankfully, her life was not in danger, mostly because her hero body was incredibly resilient. Just then, Seo Yoon crackled over the comms boss. The president launched that nuke. Dayne realized this world was spinning completely out of control. If the public saw her taking a missile for him, the internet would start shipping them even harder. He could not let that happen, so he ordered Seo Yoon launch the stream right now. Seo Yoon had been waiting for that exact command and immediately went live to the public. Dayne looked straight into the lens and announced, "Hello everyone, I am Egostic." The live chat instantly went wild. Everyone was demanding answers about what happened after Stardust flew away and the signal went dead. Dayne asked, "Do you want to see where Stardust went? She is right here." Viewers gasped in horror, seeing her completely unconscious. Some feared she had lost, while others cursed Egostic for being cruel. But Dayne replied coldly, "Do not look at me, I did not do this. The president did this. To kill me, a single villain, he fired a literal nuclear missile straight into your city. The president used a nuclear weapon to target one single villain." The global online public immediately exploded with outrage. We can both see why the internet exploded, with citizens furious that their leader abandoned them just to kill Egostic.